Striking.
Hey, and welcome to the Loosely Related Podcast. Episode 12, guys. Episode 12.
We got a dozen.
It's two above what I can count to.
Yeah.
You know, so
which we all knew.
It's tough. It's getting harder and harder. Every time we have an episode, it's getting harder and harder to keep track of.
Oh my God! I thought you said you were getting harder and harder.
Well, that's every time you're near me that happens.
Every single view.
Right.
Every view is like that.
Keep those compliments coming.
I look forward to our weekly podcast. For that
absolutely.
very reason. It's I don't need Viagra. I need Rob.
Oh
God.
Wow! All right. I believe
it's going downhill quickly.
It's just it's just weird to hear you say it out loud. Yeah. I've always thought that, but
I don't always talk out my feelings out loud, but we're a podcast and this is what we do.
That literally is what we do.
Our interactions are important here. You know what I mean?
They are.
So today's Friday the 13th, Ben.
Yay!
And it's felt like a Friday the 13th.
Oh,
yeah, it really has,
sure
right?
Does. I'm literally exhausted because I was at work and I got a call about a leaky pipe in my house. And right before the podcast, I spent the past 2.5 hours trying to put together my piping into my holding tank for my well, and it didn't work out. It's Friday the 13th. Everything was great. There was still a leak.
Jason Voorhees is going to break into the podcast right now.
That's the best thing.
Yeah.
But at least it'll give us an opportunity. We can
it'll be our first guest.
It'll be our first guest,
exactly.
and it'll sort of tie in with
Who's
our
Jason Voorhees.
Jason. That's Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Oh,
Jason.
Jason.
You see the connection?
Voorhees. See, wow.
That's the connection.
There you go.
Awesome. That's
at least
cool.
that will tie in with our serial killer episode.
Yeah.
What do you think the chances are you'll tell them the date right after we've already discussed it?
Oh, I'll tell them the right thing.
All right.
I have the notes for the podcast today. I made sure I write them down, even though I can't read.
Oh, wait. Are you the host?
I'm the host today. So anyway, I'm going to introduce my compadres on my right here. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go counterclockwise.
Ooh. All right. Change it up a little bit.
I'm going to change it up.
That's what's new this week, because we didn't have anything new this week.
We really didn't have anything new this time around. I was going to have my dog co-host with me, but she wouldn't stay in the chair, so that didn't work out. So on my immediate right here is my compadre, Robert.
Hello, everybody. Hola. Hope everybody's well today.
And on my far right over here is my son, Joey.
Hello, everyone. What's going on? Welcome back.
And behind the glass over there is our producer.
If you can't see me in front of the camera, do I really exist?
The bear shit in the woods?
That's basically that's the same basic thing, right?
I think yes. We're gonna
if
have
a tree
to do
falls in the woods, do you hear it?
We'll do a segment on
if you don't hear it, did it fall? We suck.
Yeah.
If Brian's doing fact checking in the woods and no one is around to hear it, do the facts actually matter?
No.
I think they do.
Nothing I do matters.
They matter to us.
Yeah.
Maybe not to anybody else, but to us on the Loosely Related, they matter.
I just want to know why he's in the woods
right.
so often naked and so little of it backwood facts.
Well. Yeah.
So anyway, today is September 13th, Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th, baby.
And we tried so hard to get this podcast done, so we're not sleeping all night because it took me hours to get the plumbing not fixed, and it's still not fixed. And I said, you know what, I'm not going to do it. I'll wait till we'll do the podcast. We'll record, and then we will I'll fix it afterwards.
We'll do it live.
We don't have any water.
We'll do it live.
We're all dying of thirst over here because there's no water in the house. My well is down right now. There's no bathroom.
We look like we're not
can't piss in the
thirsty.
toilet. Nothing. We're done.
Yeah.
So we have to go outside now, like my guys did. The contractors when they came to our house. Remember?
Oh yeah.
So now we're gonna have to do what they did.
Wow,
we're gonna have to
look
go
at that.
outside and pee outside like they did.
Look at you being a good host, tying into old episodes.
Yeah,
That's
so
perfect.
That's a callback.
And I spent the day today having shout-out. I asked people for shout-outs. And I was going to, mention people on the show if they had birthdays, anniversaries, new dog in their family, a new baby, anything, whatever it was. Just
an alien encounter.
Alien encounter. Yeah, it would be great, anything. Psycho recovery, whatever it is. But I got one. So I'm going to shout out the one shout-out that was request that I got today, and it was from my sister Peggy.
Oh, cool.
Peggy!
She's my youngest sister. I have two adopted sisters. Peggy and Mary Jane are my adopted sister who I lived with my whole life. And I have two other sisters who are blood sisters, biological sisters. And I met one, the other one I have nothing to do with.
I think we talked about that, right, in the podcast? I think we did.
So as a request from my sister, she said let me just pull it up real quick so I can not make a mistake on what she wanted me to say.
Yeah, definitely.
So she said,
what did she say?
I would like a shout out for being the best sister and aunt.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
fair
that's her
enough.
words, not mine. So don't all my other sisters marrying, don't get offended. And Melanie and if Ivy, if you ever do happen to see this, don't get offended. I had to do it because she was my only shout out.
Yeah.
So I have to do the shout out.
That sounds good.
Oh, there is something different about today's show.
What is different about today's show?
I just realized it.
What's that?
You guys have computers and I don't.
Oh, well, you have
Oh,
a little
yeah.
thing. Yeah, I guess that's well, that's actually really not different though, because if you remember,
No,
I
it's
think
different.
when we first started our first like 2 episodes, because
I was
there was
just
no
using my
video.
phone.
There was no video for our
Yeah,
first
we
3
didn't
episodes.
care. I was just using my phone. Like
So
this,
yeah,
it's fine.
that's right.
I can't
We
type.
weren't trying to show off.
That's why I don't. If you ever don't get offended if I don't text you. My iPhone sucks at texting. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I usually use voice to text when I'm sending messages to people, and Siri doesn't understand. I could be talking. She would probably understand me better if I was speaking French.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't understand. I'll say something and she not even close.
Well, I'll tell you
So-
what. I think the entire world probably can breathe a sigh of relief now, because they were all wondering why you weren't texting them back.
exactly.
Yes.
They were all wondering, and they're like, "Oh, he doesn't
We
like me. What
clarified
am I
it.
gonna do?"
Yeah.
It's like,
So well, Rob texts and he'll text like rapid fire text at me, and I'm like, my head starts spinning after a while.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, enough, Rob, please
Whenever
stop.
Rob has a good idea for the podcast, be prepared to get 17 texts in a row.
Yeah,
Want
like,
everybody to be on
he'll
board.
have the
that's all.
next. He'll write a text, and he texts like he speaks.
Yeah.
He'll write a text, and then he'll have the next text written before he even finishes the first one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, ding, boom, my phone was going ding, 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 ding. And it's like, I have like 20 things. And I'm like, what do I respond to? I don't even know because I'm typing like,
Well,
hi,
this is coming from
Rob,
someone who.
I got your text. And then the next morning I finish up with, yes, sorry, I fell asleep while I was, and then
Yeah.
I finally sent it to him. It's like, oh, no problem. Don't worry. Ding, ding.
I can always tell when Joe's doing like talk to text because it's
Yeah,
like
oh,
all
I know.
It's all,
dyslexic and
it's like
crap.
all kinds
Yeah.
of weird words
Oh,
popping
my
up. right?
God.
Either that, or see, it's one of two things. It's either that they're all weird words, or it's like it's way too good punctuation and spelling. I'm like, okay, I know he didn't type that.
Yeah, but I can't
'cause
do
it's
that
perfect
with Siri.
spelling.
It doesn't do it. Siri doesn't do it. That's why I want to go
Dad
back
doesn't
to
know
my
how to
Android.
spell lieutenant. He doesn't know how
Oh,
to spell
forget
that.
about it. I won't even try to spell lieutenant.
Brian, can you spell lieutenant?
Actually, you know what?
Okay.
Siri's actually reading what I'm saying now and putting notes in the show notes.
Look at that.
Joe, you missed one other. There was another post on Instagram.
Oh, there was?
Yeah,
I don't
from
have Instagram.
Jimmy in Wisconsin. It
Oh.
said, Jimmy says, "Hi guys, hope all is well. Tell the host Joe that I took my azithromycin at the doctor's today, and he said that you also needed to be treated before you meet next."
Okay.
This is
Okay.
azithromycin, though.
And that's I don't know what that Robbie. So they're too many big words, Rob.
Yeah, wait,
no,
I gotta.
That's the common treatment for chlamydia. That's
Oh,
okay.
that makes
Maybe.
sense.
There
Okay,
we
that
go.
makes sense.
Nurse
Okay,
humor.
There we go.
Nurse humor.
Okay.
it. Okay.
All right. Well, that
There's
that
two
makes
people
sense.
out there giggling.
So
to
a lot's
themselves.
happened since last episode, especially
Oh,
with
there has
the
been.
shocking news that
So-
we got on the
Yeah, so-
podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to address that because
Well, no, we will absolutely
it's
address
insane.
that, and it's still not settled yet. We don't know what's going on exactly. But
so
It's a
in
lot
our
of
last-
allegations.
Yeah, in our last episode, in the middle of the episode, we found out that Antonio Brown was released by the Oakland Raiders,
yeah.
and it was just amazing. So we announced that on the show, and then
Right.
between then and now, there was allegations of rape
But
charges.
don't forget, even after that, that happened
Oh, the
like
Gruden
during the
conversation.
filming.
yeah, during the filming.
But
of last
then,
week's show.
I wasn't even going to go. Yeah, the Gruden thing was crazy. But then, I think it was an hour or two after we wrapped, filming for the episode. He was picked up by the Patriots.
Yeah,
remember,
and then he was
remember
picked
he
up
was
by-
picked
Right,
up by
right.
the Patriots. Yeah,
he was dropped by the Raiders,
Yeah,
picked up by the
pretty-
Patriots, and then the allegations came out.
Yeah, so
and
quickly,
on
I'm
top
sorry to
of
interrupt.
that,
Yeah.
when he was picked up by the Patriots traded Demaryius Thomas to the Jets.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Because they had receivers now.
Yeah.
So for Demaryius
Right.
Thomas's mom, who's the only one who cares about that. We're sorry.
Pretty much.
We're sorry.
He's just going from team to team. I don't know how many teams. He's already been on 4 teams so far this year. Or
Who cares? He's still playing in the NFL.
He hasn't
Yeah.
played yet.
Still
He's just been being traded.
He's still
back
getting
and forth.
paid.
Yeah, no,
He's
that's
getting paid to go from one spot to
that's
another.
like the most
I'll do
beautiful
it.
thing. It's great. I would do that too. And he's probably
What were you
getting
gonna say,
millions
Rob?
for it.
You gonna-
Yeah, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have interrupted. I was just going to say that if you could just drop the timeline real quick.
Oh,
the events.
oh.
You know, all that
yeah,
little,
exactly. Yeah. So I mean,
I always
well,
like to kind of, you know.
I don't know.
All right,
Did you?
so the timeline was basically last Saturday on the, what was it, the 4th?
Oh, God. We don't even know what today is.
No,
last Saturday
It was the 9th.
Last Saturday was the 7th.
was the 7th. On
7th.
on September 7th, he was.
Come on,
Now,
facts guy.
He's been
Yeah, the
complaining a while back. He was complaining about helmet, that they were changing the helmet rules. So
Oh, yeah, that was
he
that.
liked this particular helmet that he'd been wearing when he was with the Steelers, and they were introducing new, supposedly safer helmets that had a different design, and he came out with the thing where he wasn't going to play for the team if he had to wear that helmet. So that was the first thing that started. So there was little arguments, and it went back
Crazy.
and forth, and then there was a Gruden. I think he called Gruden a cracker or something like
No,
that.
no. All right. So let me. You might. I don't want to.
Yeah, no, you know more
you're
of the
host.
details
Let me,
than
'cause
I don't have
you
him
know
on
what
my
it-
fantasy team, so I'm not as interested in
Oh
him.
well. I mean, I don't have them either, but you know, I love football, but I got to tell you, like I love football. My favorite players, I do have to say, are all the guys that tend to be a little bit more humble. 'Cause I get so sick and tired of these loudmouth, diva wide
I
receivers.
think they're the best fucking thing that ever walked the planet Earth.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, as a Giants fan, even I have to admit that there was a part of me that was happy that we got rid of Odell Beckham
Yeah, yeah.
because I hated his personality.
I have him on my fantasy team.
I think those type of personalities are very typical of anyone who excels at that level in their sport or in playing an instrument. They happen to be alpha personalities. So I
Yeah.
think that's why people cater to them. They've probably never heard no in their life. They don't even know what no means.
Yeah.
Literally
Yeah,
and
yeah,
figuratively.
yeah.
So, I have
go
an
ahead,
interesting theory about this. It's funny. I had this thought today, and I wasn't sure if I should bring it up on the podcast because it's just a random thought. I've no research into this, but I just had this idea. And I wanted to run it by you guys because there is one kind of funny thing that I've realized about what these well-known loudmouth wide receivers, the ones that we know are like the crazy guys that are fire starters and they create a lot of drama, right? I've noticed a couple of things. You have the Odell Beckhams. You have the Antonio Brown. I guess you could probably say Randy Moss. Potentially, he kind of fell a little bit into that sort of realm.
Yeah.
A few other guys here and there.
Terrell Owens.
Terrell
Yeah,
Owens did. That's a little bit different. But one thing I was
Deion
going to say
Sanders,
is,
I think,
at
was
least
another
for, I think he was a cornerback though, right? Mostly.
Yeah, but still, I mean, it was.
But anyway, but that actually could come into play with what I'm
okay.
about to say.
All right.
So it's so random, but I had this thought. Do you think that potentially one of the reasons why these two particular wide receivers and a lot of these types of guys, they all have one thing in common, these loudmouth guys. They're all short for the NFL's height. They're all
Could be
5'10", 5'11", which is average height for us. That's yours and my height. And
that's-
Brian, you're probably like what? 5'10",
I'm like 5'8", 5'8".
Okay, all right, 5'8". But the point is that
He's going to start acting really obnoxious too. He's going to start demanding
But
things. On the
super
show.
obnoxious.
so that's
I'm-
where
sounds
that's what
shorter.
I was trying to say.
He's
So
going to be demanding double his. We're going to have to double his pay now,
Yeah.
triple
Yeah.
his pay, quadruple his pay, which is
Zero
actually pretty
times
good.
zero.
Yeah, exactly.
Two is
So,
still zero.
Yeah.
if I can't wear my particular headphones, I'm not coming to the
Yeah.
podcast.
Razors and razors only.
Yeah, exactly. But I just had this thought that I was like, man, it's kind of funny. Like by the NFL standards, they're short. Like let's just say the average height in the NFL
Napoleon
is
complex.
6'2",
I guess it's a good a
6'3".
theory as any.
I just had a theory like, how is it a coincidence? Like the two most loudmouth guys, and then you have other guys like Jalen Ramsey and like cornerbacks and guys like that, like these loudmouth guys. Josh Norman. They're all like these 5'10", 5'11" guys. They're all these short guys. I
Maybe
wonder
they
if it's
got
like a
that-
Napoleon complex thing.
Well, I think it's
Because you know what my point is this, and here's the counter to that is Julio Jones is not known for being that.
No.
The guy's 6'4". He's one
Very-
of the best.
Yeah, very.
AJ Green is not known for that. Alshon Jeffrey is 6'7".
quiet
He's
guys.
not known
Maybe
for
it
that
has
at all.
something to be with
low-key
having to
type
be
people.
probably if you don't, there's plenty of people give you the one look over, and if you don't fit that
Yeah.
build, you're
right.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's almost an underdog thing to even perform at that level and to be
Right.
shorter unless you're a running back.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, even people in other sports are that way. Spud Webb. I mean, it's always been that. You're like,
Yeah.
holy crap, how tall?
Yeah.
Phil Rizzuto was tiny.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, and they do have boisterous personalities. Yeah, maybe there is
Even
some.
me
I don't
with
know.
Even me with badminton, I was too tall. Like, it'd be fun.
Right.
I think it's 4'9" to be a good badminton
That's right.
player.
Yeah.
You're
I
oh,
like
you're too tall.
It's
table
more
tennis is
interesting
really
when
in
you're
my
shorter
wheelhouse.
at badminton. I think
That's
It
the
makes it
whole
way more
thing.
interesting.
Yeah, and I guess that's the.
It's
that's
almost
the
like a
whole
cross
point.
between volleyball and tennis.
Yeah.
Like when you're really
Yes.
short at badminton.
Yeah, yeah.
You know
That's
what I mean?
why the badminton has such a long handle to make up for your tiny arms.
Exactly.
yeah.
That's exactly it. And if
You would probably be very good at it then.
I was pretty good.
well,
yeah,
right now
I
he
was pretty good at
Yeah,
badminton.
you
I'd whack that shuttlecock all over the place.
I bet you that's not the only cocky whacked all over the place.
All
That's
right,
probably fair.
calm down. He's
So,
getting all excited
all right,
over here.
Antonio Brown over there.
All right,
Jesus.
God,
So-
no means no, Joe.
All right.
Yeah.
All right,
all right.
So
So-
let me. I'm
To the
sorry,
timeline,
Brian. Go
yeah.
ahead. All right. So to the timeline. What I was anyway. So
We get off. That's why we get. What's why we call ourselves loosely related. Because
That's
we
why.
start off on something, we end
Oh.
up way over there. And
Well,
then we have to come back.
If
to
that's
what
why
we
we're
originally
named
wanted
that,
to
maybe
talk
we
about.
should be loosely demented,
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
that just goes without saying. I think.
loosely
Yeah.
held
You know what I
together.
mean?
Oh, I think we definitely fit our name very well.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think we
without a
definitely
doubt.
do.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, hit
for
that
sure.
timeline, buddy.
No, it's all
since-
good, dude.
Especially since most of
This
us
is
are
what it's all
almost,
about.
or most of us are related.
But anyway, one of the things that I know. Oh my God, it's so funny is that
So you were on
With
the you were on the timeline.
So
thing.
as far as the timeline thing goes, with Antonio Brown, it's so hard to follow because there was a lot of infighting he had even before training camp started, obviously, right? Because it all goes back to the Steelers. He was fighting with the Steelers. So like I remember, I actually lost track of who he was fighting with. I forgot
Just
he
whoever's
was,
in line.
'cause that's what I'm saying. Like he was fighting with the Steelers. And me and Rob talked about it last podcast. Remember, he was like taking shots at
Yeah.
Juju Smith-Schuster,
Yeah.
who was like the nicest
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
He was
Right.
like,
and Juju
Who
Smith
wished
was
him
like-
well when he.
yeah, he was like, good luck, man.
Even when he was out during the year, he was like, "I hope he comes back. He'll help our team."
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
There was
Yeah.
like a Twitter thing that he put out there, and I heard on the I don't remember where I heard it from. I think
Yeah.
it was Fantasy Footballers,
Okay.
and they were like, "What?" Juju was shocked by it. He's like, I
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
we
he
were
was
friends.
shocked. He was, yeah, it's literally what he
Like,
said.
He couldn't believe,
Yeah,
what
he was like,
Yeah.
I honestly thought we were friends. I didn't understand what the hell was going
And
on.
then the other quick thing was when he was like, "Why don't you go get your yarmulke, you little Juju?" And he's like, "I don't even spell my name like that. It's nothing to do with my nationality or,
Right,
or
yeah.
anything."
Yeah. Oh, he said
Yeah.
that.
No, I just totally made that up.
Oh,
Oh,
my
alright.
God. That
But it's
sounds
believable.
completely
He probably would
believable.
say like that.
That's because that's what he says.
You
to me
ignorant
first.
racist.
That's what he says to me sometimes. Once he found out I was half
Yeah.
Jew, he's been
Yeah.
saying it to me ever since.
No,
Man, you got
I said
that.
you're a quarter Jew at best. It starts from the nose up.
Yeah, that's what he said. He did say that.
We have
But
Jewish
that's my
in
whole-
family. I'm Jewish. too.
But like that's
Whatever.
my whole point though. We literally lost track of it. He was talking shit to Juju Smith-Schuster, and then he was talking shit to Ben Roethlisberger, and then he obviously gets was he released or traded by the Steelers?
was
I think
traded.
he was traded, right?
Yeah.
So then whatever, he was traded, and of course
For
everyone
picks, yeah.
remembered it. But then within what felt like a couple of weeks, he's already fighting with everyone at the Raiders.
Right, right.
So I literally,
He didn't even get started there, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
didn't
basically.
even
He
get
was-
started
he was
yet.
Right.
fighting almost
I remember
immediately.
being like, I forgot he got traded. I was like, wow, he's still fighting with the Steelers, and someone was like, no, he's on the Raiders now, and I was like, oh my, are you serious?
You're right.
I was like,
you're
what?
right, Joe. It does seem like it's such
Right?
a whirlwind.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
Even when we're trying to unpack it, it's
Yeah.
hard to because it's like there's so many little ways to go off and
I-
meander
I don't
on
want to
this.
spend a
It's
lot
weird.
of time on it. We got other things to cover.
All right, so
but-
let me.
All right,
Yeah,
we'll
so-
get to that
all right, so
important stuff though.
The most important thing, obviously, was what happened Saturday. So he went to the Raiders. He had a big, a lot of problems there. So the big thing was I can't remember what day it was that he did the whole thing with Mike Mack. So all right, so then it was September 5th of 2019, whatever. He apparently got into an argument with the general manager
Right.
of the Raiders, Mike Mayock, and he allegedly called Mike Mayock a cracker.
Right.
Now Antonio Brown has denied doing this, but
you don't ever
apparently he had to be held back by teammates, and he threatened to punch Mike Mayock in the face. Can you imagine trying to imagine if you walked into one of your boss's office, anybody, and you said you're a cracker, and I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Listen, he sounds like a learned man to me.
Yeah.
So let me just shorten the story. So he ended up on the Patriots, and then that.
Well,
whole
I'm gonna
story broke
let me get
about-
back to it because I don't want to shorten it too much because it is kind of crazy. Don't worry, we got plenty of time. We're good to go.
Sounds winning.
All right.
But so let me. So then the whole point was then September 17th, September 7th, which was last Saturday, he went ahead and he got fined, and then
Right.
I guess Antonio, and what happened was when they fined him, they voided his $29 million guaranteed contract.
Oh, that's right.
And that was
Yeah,
when
yeah.
he on Instagram essentially said, "I want to be released." And literally, I think like within an hour of that, they straight up released
Yeah.
him.
Happily
That's
did
when-
it
and-
probere too.
And that's
Oh.
literally when we heard when I
we were
announced it.
filming the podcast,
Yeah,
and
we were filming
you
the
got
podcast.
the thing.
So he went over to the Patriots,
And then he got signed
the
by the
whole
Patriots that day.
They
Right.
traded Demaryius Thomas, who they had, to the Jets, and then not soon after
then
that, that whole
Tuesday-
allegation thing came
So
out.
then Tuesday, what happened was all of a sudden news came out Tuesday that he was a federal lawsuit. Now a lawsuit had been filed, not criminal charges. A lawsuit was filed in I believe they said was it Florida? A lawsuit was
Yes.
filed.
Yes.
And it was a lawsuit, a civil suit that was filed by his former physical trainer that accused him of sexually assaulting and raping her on 3 separate occasions in 2017 and in 2018. 2018. Now, of course, Antonio Brown has denied the allegations. He released a statement through his lawyer. There was an issue where they thought he might be placed on what's called the commissioner's exempt list,
right?
Yeah.
which for those of you who don't know is the NFL commissioner can place you on an exempt list where you're not allowed to play, usually when there's like pending investigations.
Right.
That's the whole thing. And,
Well,
and that's basically it. So
He didn't
He's
do
still
that.
eligible to play, though,
And
right?
he
Right,
is
so that's
probably
that
going
part.
to play on.
Okay.
He may actually.
Is that
play
what
for
it
the
looks like,
Patriots.
Joe?
Yes, it looks like he may play on.
I think
Sunday.
Belichick said he intended to play him.
Yeah, so there's a good chance
Okay.
he's playing on Sunday. And what I heard last was that they're not. The NFL is not doing anything because the feds or whoever's doing the investigation is not going to speak to them until sometime next week.
Oh,
so
they said. Did you guys see the part where they said that the NFL was going to investigate, or actually speak to the actual person
Yes.
herself?
yes, yeah, oh yeah,
Is
they're
that
going
what
to
you were
speak
saying?
to
Okay.
the woman. She's supposed to come and
Interesting.
talk to the NFL and.
I wonder what
Tell
kind
her
of
side of the
powers they have
story.
over that. Like, she could just not do that, right? They
She's-
can't force her to. They have
of
no
course-
legal.
No, she's doing it on her own. She's voluntarily. coming
Okay.
in
Yeah.
and
All right.
talking to them.
I mean,
Let's
it's
see how many there
unbelievable.
are today. There's quite a few of them actually today. So I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
we're going to jump
There's
right
only
to the
6
national
today.
days right in the middle of talking about
Well, we'll go to it
a
if
sexual
you want.
assault
Before we
allegation.
do that,
I think
what
we
do you
basically
guys think
covered.
about
I don't
this
think
whole
people
thing?
want to know
So
anymore.
yeah, that's what I
about
want
him.
to do. Well, I did want to just see to myself like
I don't want to
just
know
think
anymore
it's-
about him. I really don't care, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
to
doesn't-
me,
okay.
he's a football player that annoys me because if it were me, you, Rob,
Right.
or Brian, who did
Yeah.
what that guy did, we'd all be in jail right now for it. For the allegation that would happen.
Well,
He's sitting
let's
playing
not get. I mean,
Well,
it's-
I'm just saying
there's no
he-
criminal
he's
charges
playing-
that were
Right.
filed because
There,
I
there
don't
hasn't
want to.
been yet, but and that to me is
We don't know
just
if it will.
again, if that was us, there probably would have been criminal charges.
Right, but that is
filed.
interesting. No, I agree. But
It's
in that very interesting what you just were talking about there, because I was just talking offline with Joey and I think Brian the other day. Do you guys find it strange that it isn't? It went right to civil. There was no
Right.
criminality.
That's
charge.
what's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that seem? It seems like odd to me, but I don't know. But you said you
It
had
is,
read
the
other
whole thing
issues,
to me
right?
is
Like
so
that?
fishy because every other thing that we've heard when Kareem Hunt last year had that video where he kicked a girl when she was on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He immediately got suspended. That was the end of it. It was done. That was it. I mean, I know it was on video, and they had it on video.
Well,
But
there's
then
that.
there was other allegations that we didn't have on video. Remember, it was which
been
one of
so
them was
many.
beating their son or whatever? And
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
Was that Adrian?
But Tyreek
AP,
Hill,
right?
nothing came of that.
No.
The big
AP.
Adrian Peterson
They
had
just-
the one where there was photos, and
Right.
the photos
Yeah.
were released, and he was
So
immediately.
the NFL's not going to do anything to you if they hear allegations of something like that. If someone's coming out, I mean, I don't know. To
it's
me,
hard to say. That's a whole different argument. I feel like,
Yeah.
like about
It is,
do we wait for there to be
I
evidence?
guess
do
you
we
can't
wait for
really
there to be
jump.
that?
It's innocent until proven guilty.
Yes, of course.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it's
I
hard
mean,
to
I
say
don't think
anything
your
right
job
now.
could have done anything to
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess
Right,
we really
Joe?
shouldn't. Huh?
you. Joe, this had let's take that for a minute. If it really did happen to you, I don't think your job would have any basis to let you go based on a.
No, they
On a-
wouldn't if there was some. But they could. I mean,
Maybe they could probably just. I mean, a lot of jobs
I mean-
are what's the word I'm looking for? Are I forget the word. But
Jobs.
They
a lot
can,
of jobs are jobs.
They can make. That's
Yes.
right. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
Man,
there you
you did it,
I'm
buddy.
so good
Thank
at
you
that.
so much.
Perfect at that.
Yeah, so the word I was looking for was at will employer. So technically, they don't need any paper or like paper trail to let you go. So there is that, but then they always seem to go through HR anyway. So that's all I was thinking, whether or not, if it was an everyday Joe
Yeah.
or everyday Joey.
Everyday Joey.
We know what your job hold that against you. Would they even know that? I mean, we're not high profile. Would they even know that you're at it?
They probably wouldn't know.
I don't know. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
that's all I was thinking.
So I mean, the gist of it obviously is that it is sexual assault. I just thought. I mean, we don't have a lot, like my dad said. I don't really want to talk about it either. It's a pretty disturbing thing. But also,
Yeah.
but also, I do think that no matter what, it is important to admit that yes, it is true that they are just allegations. It's definitely disturbing, and the reason why I would say it's disturbing is unfortunately. I mean, I shouldn't even say unfortunately. It's just that the New York Times article, the woman did describe in pretty detailed account the rape that she's accusing him of, and it's a difficult read.
Yeah, no, it
and
is.
reading that
It's-
was not something that it's just I don't even want to think about it, and I don't know. I can't imagine that anyone would want to. I can't imagine how hard it was for her to really be able to come out and do it and to even file a lawsuit. So I don't know what the reason is behind filing a lawsuit versus going right into criminal charges.
What a time frame, right?
Now, I did see one thing on ESPN, what you were talking about before, Rob, was that one thing I did see was that sometimes I know that with high-profile celebrities and athletes that are very wealthy, that are very well known for being very wealthy, a lot of times they will file a lawsuit first before criminal charges to prevent certain things from happening.
Yeah, they have to. They have to
like
cover
moving
their butts.
assets offshore and things like that, where you can't get a hold of
you were
assets and
saying
things
that.
like that. So sometimes they do file a lawsuit first. It does happen. Usually it happens when they're very high profile. And Antonio Brown kept saying that these accusations originally came out right after he just became the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. So I don't know. I mean, dude, it's tough.
It's
makes you
too
wonder how much-
early of a stage right now to actually tell who's lying and who's telling the truth.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, again,
Nobody knows
in
but
this
them.
country,
honestly.
we're innocent until proven guilty. So
Yes.
we got to
Well,
at least we have to.
Yeah.
Although the
believe
laws
in
are
that
much different
system
for
and
civil and
go
criminal,
with
they're not
that.
the same.
Yeah.
You know, so
So like, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but you don't even have to. It's not beyond a shadow of doubt in civil court. It's like a
No, it's,
reasonable
yeah,
doubt.
yeah, right, yeah, no,
Civil
So
court,
it's not the same.
yes,
Civil court is preponderance of the evidence. So literally speaking, the way that it's described in civil court is all you have to do is prove 51% guilty, and that's enough, and that's all it takes. That's all it is. That's what it is. So anyway, but that's only part of it. And let's not forget about I don't want to throw this out there. You also got guys like Sam Darnold walking around having his issues. You guys heard about that?
Yeah,
Brian?
he's
I
got
don't know if you
mono.
heard.
I've not heard
He's
about
got-
that.
So Sam
He has
Darnold's
a
not playing.
mononucleosis.
Sam Darnold's not going to be playing Sunday.
yeah, no,
Because he has
not.
mono.
He has
caught mono.
mononucleosis, which
He
is
has the
kissing disease.
Epstein
It's in high
Barr
school.
virus.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's from high school.
The NFL's
Probably
crazy.
left over from high school.
Yeah, literally.
God.
You know, he's only 22. He's not that far removed from high school. So
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
maybe
It's
it's
just
still,
the NFL's a weird place, man.
maybe you're still seeing that one girl. That
I'm
he
surprised they
brings
got out of
behind
him.
the
Would you have
lunchroom
made something
building.
else up if you? I'm sure the PR guy would have said anything. I'd have been like, I have the flu.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would.
Anything less embarrassing, yeah.
You know, I was gonna say I have herpes. It's only mono.
He wanted to keep it on the up and up just in case some girl
whatever.
came out and
You know what? It's a super common. We called it kissing disease, but honestly, you can get it from sharing cups, whatever.
Yeah,
silverware.
right.
yeah.
That
But
makes
we
sense.
haven't
I mean, he
heard
probably was making out with somebody, but
You ever heard
anyway.
about mononuclear? When I was in high school, that's when it was like a big. Everyone had mono
Right.
back then.
Yeah.
Everybody.
When it said it's
They
like
had mono parties.
was-
Come over here.
you
Stick your
look-
tongue on my
Yeah.
tongue.
like,
You
what?
get mono when
The
you get
people-
mono when you get mono.
the people in my high school were like, that kid doesn't have mono. What's
He
what's
doesn't have mono?
Why doesn't
Yeah,
he
what's
have
wrong with him?
mono?
Yeah.
So I mean, it was like more common in my day. You haven't heard about it in years, and all of a sudden, Sam Darnold
Yeah.
ends up with
Yeah.
mono.
Well,
So
that's like
everyone's talking about
smallpox.
that.
Back in your day, you haven't heard
Right.
Nobody's gotten smallpox in a long time.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
bubonic plague,
Yeah,
the
the
Black
bubonic-
Death,
Right.
all those things that
All
you had
those
to go
things.
through in your child.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold has smallpox too.
There you go.
Might.
I don't know, but anyway, we'll move on to another somber moment in history. 2 days ago was 9/11.
It was Wednesday.
It was Wednesday,
Wednesday.
but it was also 9/11.
Right,
It was
September
the
11th, right?
19th anniversary, 18th anniversary.
18th. Yeah.
18th anniversary.
18th
yeah.
anniversary of 9/11. So we thought we'd bring that up and just as a remembrance of the day. It was a very sad day that a lot of people lost their lives and terrible things happened. So we just wanted to mention it on the show, and I thought it would just be interesting to maybe talk about where we were that day. You
Yeah.
know, what happened to everybody. Where were they? Do you remember it, Brian? You were
I
probably
was
too young,
too young
right?
to
Yeah, you
remember
were too
anything
young.
about it.
Okay.
Everyone
You were-
talks about pandemonium, and it's completely
was-
erased out of my memory.
It was
Wow.
pretty insane. It really was.
Yeah.
And it's already almost 20 years since that time.
Yeah,
that
2
happened.
years.
Yeah,
It
it's
goes by
unreal.
So fast.
It's unbelievable.
Now,
Yeah, when I
you
was little, I remember people always going, "Oh, where were you with JFK?" You know, to my older family
Yeah,
members.
yeah.
So it's weird to have lived now through something that's like,
Yeah.
you know where you were at the
Right.
time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's how
a
I felt
huge
too.
event
Rob.
that happened. Pearl
Yeah.
Harbor, the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the shooting of
D-Day,
Kennedy,
Yep.
D-Day.
D-Day.
I mean, those are crazy things, and this will be something that at
The
least
butt
Rob and
fumble,
The
the,
butt fumble.
butt fumble.
the Mark Sanchez butt
Yeah,
fumble.
Exactly.
So, do you remember? You were a little boy, right? old
Yeah, I
were
was a
you?
little boy. I suppose you could say that way. I'm
You
still
probably-
a
How much-
little boy.
You were
still-
still his father then, right? So you probably know the answer to that already.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't
All
know.
right,
if
just
that was-
checking.
Were you
Yeah.
my dad then?
Just
I don't know
checking.
if that was, I might have had a different dad at that
I
point.
may not have admitted it at that time.
Yeah, that's probably what.
You wanted to
were
see
just
what you
that
would do
guy.
with yourself first.
Yeah, I
would
wanted to
say-
see how you grew
Yeah,
up and
you know,
just how
play
you
this
did
by
on
ear.
your own.
Yeah.
You did
Right.
okay. You did pretty
I
good.
did all right. I think I did pretty good.
Yeah.
I was raised mostly by wolves,
Mm.
and I think I did
And
pretty
now
well.
now you're taking care of 17
porcupines and all that stuff like that.
20
You have a lot of
porcupines,
things.
17 Bangladeshi kids.
Yeah.
We're gonna make that into that sign: a partridge and a pear tree. We just keep adding to
We're
it.
gonna get a T-shirt that's gonna have 20 porcupines on. That's what we're gonna get.
Yeah.
That's the first
what I'm
merchandise.
working
I like that.
You heard
Yeah.
it here first.
Yeah,
All
that's what
right.
we're gonna
Make
get.
sure you go to looselyrelatedpodcast.com and
Oh
pick
yeah.
yours
By the
up.
way, hey, way to be a good host. You didn't tell them where they can find
Oh
loosely
no, I thought
related.
about that. So yeah, there's plenty of places you can catch up on us if you want. You can check us out on looserelatedpodcast.com, right?
Yep, looserelatedpodcast.com.
Yes.
Sounds
You can
super enthusiastic
Yes.
about it.
Right. I think
You
that's
can
You
find
can
okay.
go
us
to
at-
YouTube, the YouTube channel. Search
This
us on
is
YouTube, and don't forget.
Microsoft Excel 2018
You can-
tutorial.
You can find us on AOL AIM
You can if you have a Facebook,
dial
you
up.
You could go if you have Facebook. You can look us up on Facebook and check out our posts there. You can if you want to contact us via looserelatedpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep.
For business inquiries, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, business inquiries.
indeed.
You want to shoot us an email?
You want to join a loosely related university?
Let's make sure you don't slur that too much.
That's their
Shoot
main-
us an email. It sounded like if you want to shoot us, don't do that.
Don't shoot
Yeah,
us.
no, well-
Don't do that.
I'm
Don't
afraid
shoot
of
us.
anybody. But I wasn't gonna mass shoot anyone today, but Joe told us on the podcast that we should.
That's what's
Yeah,
going to happen
if you
next.
want, you could pull up our email and then you could just shoot at our email.
Yes.
Right.
Target
Don't break
practice.
your laptop. but-
You might break the laptop, but we could put like a little. We'll send you an email.
Hey, look at this! I got
like a
4
target?
bullet holes
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
screen, but I can still plug it into an external source.
There
If you want to
go.
hit us up on Twitter, we're at LRPodcast. That's LRPOCAST.
Yes.
We're missing.
I'm sorry.
we're missing the
Instagram. So on
date.
Instagram,
Oh,
we're
yes,
on
that's right,
loosely
Brian.
_related. We've just launched on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
I still have to.
Follow me on that
Oh.
Instagram.
All
page.
right,
That's
Instagram.
how we do it.
All right.
Now back to
And-
I'm sorry.
Is that it? Did
I think that's
cover
it.
I think
That's
that's all.
basically it.
We get
You can
to-
also go to your local Pony Express.
Yeah.
Pony
We are-
Express.
yeah.
That was
Right.
back in my day.
That's
I remember
right.
those days.
That was like your second or third job. I remember you telling me.
It took a long time to subscribe back then.
Yeah.
Can you
Like,
imagine
had to,
even
like,
if you want
send
to
out
quit?
letters, and then you had to wait for the response for the letters,
Yep.
and then they. I remember the National Geographic Society. To join that, it took like 2,
Correct.
3, 4 weeks sometimes, and then when you got the anticipation was overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, they had such terrible Wi-Fi on the Oregon Trail. I mean, that was
Right.
just
Well-
like you were screwed. You had nothing.
Yeah.
They didn't even have mobile hotspots back then.
No, they did not.
Like
Definitely.
you were like a week removed. From
You'd
that,
probably
though.
do a lot better if they had odd spots.
Yeah.
Don't take a left. Plague that way.
Plague that
it would have
way.
been a lot better.
Indians over there.
Inches. You wouldn't have ended up with the Donner family eating it.
Oh my God, dude!
Yeah.
If you ever read, I think that book's called "The Indifference of the Stars Above" or something. I have to check that. Look at that. But it's about the Donner Party, but it's not just about them. It's only. That is the most gruesome. I had heard about it on this show that I watched. Not that they named
last
our
podcast on the left.
They were
yeah.
talking about it, but that was one of their source materials. And I actually went and I started reading. It's sickening.
Really?
It is so like the
And that was on the Oregon
things they
Trail?
went
Why have I-
through.
I-
No.
You know who
Oh.
the Donner?
No, it's going from
No,
the
I
gold
honestly-
rush and going through the mountains
Oh.
and to
In
go
April
west.
of
No.
1846, Sarah Graves was 21 and in love with a young man. Sorry, I gotta read this.
All right. So
Okay.
The Donner,
Is that the
Donner-
name though? The name is the
Donner
Indifference of the Stars
Party.
Above, right?
Indifference of the Stars is the name of the book.
Dude, that's I'm telling you, you cannot go wrong reading it. I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
So the
Check
Donner
that out.
Party was a when people
Donner
were
Party
migrating
of
out to
Five.
California and stuff like that in the early 1800s.
Yeah.
They were migrating. They had to go across the Rocky Mountains,
Uh-huh.
and there were 2 different trails. I think there was the Colorado Trail, and there was the I don't remember what they called
don't remember
the
either,
Southern
but it's
Trail.
just
It was like
Well,
the
Sierra
Sierra
Trail-
Nevada.
Sierra Nevada Trail.
Yes.
Okay.
Sierra Nevada mountains.
Yeah, so the Donner Party decided to take that trail. I don't know, it was 40 or 50 people, I think, in the party. I think it was around 40.
And about 5 of them make it.
Wow.
Yeah,
really?
and they went
What
up
the
into
hell?
the
Why-
mountains.
God, I'm so
I've been in
I'm
the
so
mountains
not
during those
informed.
snowstorms. They're pretty freaking intense.
What the hell were you doing there?
My
Well,
friend
no,
Todd
that
was
was- he
there.
was-
I
he
went
I
was
to
thought you
doing
meant
that.
during the skull rush.
Oh, he
Oh.
was a fur trapper.
Well, I got through I didn't get trapped. I got over the mountains before the
Yeah.
the snowstorm
What do you call 'em?
started.
I'm
Yeah.
an old prospector.
Yeah,
Yeah, Dad went prospecting there like 6 months ago. He's like, "Where's all the gold?"
it's not there anymore.
That's a Central Hudson plant. What are you talking about? That's just-
He's probably out there with those stupid gold chocolate candies. I got all the gold.
I got a golden ticket. Anyway, but
SpongeBob.
so
I
the
don't know
Donner
what the
Party
hell
went
we
over
were
the
talking
mountain,
about.
and when they went up into the mountains, they were way up in the mountains, and it made one of the worst snowstorms in the history of mankind, and opened up.
Okay.
And dumped like 20 feet of snow. They were trapped in the mountains for months and months and months.
Yeah.
and they had to resort to cannibalism to survive. So the people who died, they had
Yeah.
to eat the people who died. It was kind
Wow,
of like the story
really?
Alive.
Right,
Yes,
so
yes,
that was
yes.
Argentine soccer
Yeah,
team.
the
Yeah.
soccer team
Right,
that
but so
crashed
the
on
other
the-
crazy thing,
That's a
here's
crazy
another one:
movie.
Desperate Passage, the Donna Party's Perilous Journey West. But the thing is, if you read that, that is such a small portion, that actual activity, and it's not the worst part of the. Yeah, you're like cannibal. How could it be any worse? There was worse.
yeah.
Really?
Because you think,
do you
oh
get
my
worse
god,
than cannibalism?
disgusting. But then you have to think not only that, but the relationships.
Yeah.
Did they wait for a kid to die? Did they get so crazy they were actually
Yeah, I
just
can imagine.
offing people at one point?
Yeah.
Or like if someone was very sick, they started off trying to do the right thing, but you can see like their
They had to do what they had to do to
the
survive.
right,
Yeah.
right.
That's
That
crazy, man.
oh my
That's
god, I cannot
insane.
think of anything today. But the will to survive or
You're on
the
the spot, Rob.
instinct,
That's why you got the camera in front of you.
It's
and
on
it's
the
hard to
spot,
think of
isn't
words.
the instinct to
I
survive
do the
is.
same thing.
No.
But the thing is, it's not just that when you hear. Did we complain about the dumbest thing? We were just like, McDonald's is finally open. Like we didn't.
Yeah,
have
right.
You were like, and I'm not throwing you under the
no.
bus because we all were like this. I got to drive 15 minutes to get to McDonald's.
Yes.
You finally have
I
to
was
do-
complaining about that like a week
Yeah.
ago. I'm like, wow, I gotta go all the way to New Paltz for McDonald's.
I think I
They
posted
made
it on
They
Twitter.
made it 100 feet in 15 minutes.
Oh my god,
That
these
was
people
fast,
were
buddy.
like having people on their back, literally trying to hump their 1-year-old or 2-year-old on their back while they're
Yeah.
trekking with no
With-
shoes,
with,
with
uh,
none, because they were even using that trying to eat leather and crap.
Yeah.
It's just I can't even do it.
That
Man.
were-
Just,
and
you
I-
gotta check it out. I've never heard a more insane
What
story.
I remember always stuck in my mind is the fires that they built, like
Yeah.
to keep warm.
Mm-hmm.
The hole that would be in the snow from the fire was like 15 feet.
Feet.
Wow,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
how much snow there was.
Crap.
Holy shit, that's
And I think
crazy.
they sent people out as like parties to try to get help. And
Yeah, smaller parties.
Yeah, like
And then there's
it-
I don't want to ruin that, but there's that one part where they could have went one way and he went the other,
yeah,
and they just
yeah, went the wrong way.
bad choice. They
Yeah.
were like only I don't remember what,
Like really close.
a few
like,
miles
yeah, you had
away.
to like go over the
and
mountain.
they
was
went
like-
around.
Like the next
Yeah.
ridge, we would have been like in civilization.
Well, that was
or
like a
something
similar
like
thing
that.
with the movie Alive. Alive was a similar thing. And they were apparently, I mean, I'm sure it would have been a trek, but wasn't the whole thing where on the other side of the mountain there was actually like a hotel? Like, wasn't that the whole
No,
thing? Like,
no,
wasn't
no,
that?
no, no, no,
Am
no.
I thinking of a different story?
Yeah, you're thinking of definitely probably a made for Netflix.
No,
movie
no.
That you're
I think
thinking
it.
of
I
writing,
no. I think it is
but-
that story. I think
No,
I
it's
remember
not.
they sent two guys down the mountain, and one of the
I don't
guys
remember
found
No,
like
they made it, but it was a long walk. And
Oh.
remember, they made down into the
Huh.
mountains, and
all right.
then they got to a stream finally, or something like that. And then there was this local guy there with a donkey or whatever, and he
Yeah.
saw they were just complete. And then they searched.
Sounds like John Wick.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
God.
but that was just a fascinating.
So
story.
that's the kind of things we're
Always
complaining
is.
about going to McDonald's 15 minutes
exactly.
away.
But like I said,
Oh my God.
I was up in I went up to see Taj when he was in the Lake Tahoe and went to the Sierra Nevada, and it snowed there one time. We got stuck
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah,
we
well,
got
it's
stuck
like,
up there.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
started eating Taj because I
Yeah.
couldn't.
Right,
we were
that's
there
what
for
I
like
thought.
months.
Yeah.
And because he asked you to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because-
yeah.
But no, we were supposed
Inside
to fly
joke, sorry.
We were supposed to fly out the next day, and we got snowed in with like 2.5 feet of snow overnight.
Can you
Like,
imagine one
overnight.
of these pudgy little Americans these days? I'm afraid to be trapped in here for 20 extra
Yeah.
minutes to be
Yeah.
looking at you like you're a burger.
Especially
Yeah.
with that. What's
Especially
that
after you just had
insect?
McDonald's. Bob just had McDonald's, so I'm like,
I know you
that's
can.
close enough.
You can
Yeah, close
smell
enough.
that fake beef
Yeah.
oozing out of my pores.
Exactly. So I love how like talk about loosely related. We got on this from 9/11. So
Oh god, we're the worst. We're
yeah.
like we're gonna take a minute out of our time
That's
to
all.
ignore you
Let's
and
get
then
a
move on
moment
to
of
the
silence.
This.
Oh yeah, what
Yes.
about the Donner Party?
Yeah, right.
I don't know how we ended up there.
that's
That's
so
I don't
crazy.
know.
But yeah, back to 9/11
so
if
anyway,
you want.
9/11. I'll start off because you guys obviously
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
have any stories
Go
that
ahead.
jump to your minds, but I do.
No,
so
I actually do. I know I do. I was gonna. I was
Yeah,
gonna
I
say,
know where
Oh,
it
you
was.
do? All
No,
right,
of course.
So then I'll let
No,
you guys
absolutely,
start.
I do.
No, go
Then I'll
ahead.
just and then I'll just
No, we just got into the whole other topic of whatever. But
All right,
no, I
so then
definitely
do you have-
think that
go ahead,
for
Joey.
me, I know for a fact that I remember. So I was 10 years old. Everybody nowadays, it's becoming one of those things where it's like everybody has that one thing where it's like, oh, everybody talks about it and everybody remembers it because it was such a major event, and I think in U.S. history, obviously, but just in everyone's lives. Like in my own personal life, that was like one of the biggest things that ever happened that I can remember. But I was 10 years old. I was in class, and I remember I remember hearing about some other kid I remember I was in 5th grade, from 6th grade, came into our classroom and said that something happened in New York City, and a plane crashed into the World Trade Tower.
You were in Sacred Heart
And
at the time, right?
no, I was in
Or-
Bishop Dunn,
oh,
which
Bishop
is
Dunn, right.
Newburgh. But anyway, we didn't know any, but that's all we knew, and no one knew anything. And then all of a sudden, and like hours go by, and then all of a sudden, I get a call down to the office. My parents are there to pick me up, and I got picked up actually by my sister's friend's mom, and she drove me and my sister back to our house. And I remember I walked in the door. All we knew was that it was bad. I remember on the car ride home, my sister's friend's mom was, saying that, it's really bad. It's really bad. And of course, I was scared as a kid, but I had no idea.
And you
and
forget about it.
Yeah, and when I walked into the house, of course, you and Mom were sitting in front of the TV. Or no,
I wasn't home
No,
yet.
you weren't
I
home
actually
yet. I'm sorry.
stuck at
Yeah,
work.
you weren't home yet. Mom was in front of the TV, and she had the TV on. Of course, the first thing you see when you walk in, looked to the left, and I walked in, just see both towers on fire, just smoking. They hadn't collapsed yet. They were just on fire. And it was, I remember being terrified, just absolutely terrified. I didn't even know what to do.
You didn't know what was going on. You were a little kid. You probably didn't understand anything. What about
No,
you, Rob?
I didn't.
Where were you
So
that day?
I think we were working at probably the same job then. I was working at IBM.
Nope.
At 650. Well,
No, you were in PDC.
I don't remember
at
if
that
I
time,
needed
right?
it or whatever.
No,
but
I was at it wasn't
Luddily
called
still,
PDC
whatever?
at the time. No, yes, it was. Actually,
It was PDC at the time. It
It
wasn't
was
Mankind yet.
later.
Oh, so you had left already. From
Yeah.
No, I was at PDC when they were down in Terrytown.
No, but I'm
Original.
saying you were already
You had
gone
left
from IBM.
You had left IBM by then.
What's that before?
Well, yeah, because you worked
That's
in
what I was
PDC
saying. It
after.
didn't sound
No,
like-
obviously I
Yeah,
wouldn't.
no,
know
yes.
because I met you in IBM.
2001.
I'm gonna
Yes,
say, but
it was-
I thought I was sitting next to you in the car. No, that wasn't me.
No,
that wasn't
yeah.
me.
No.
No,
That was another guy. That was your other
different show.
father.
Yeah.
That was
No,
the
it
other. That was the other host of
That's
Loosely
right,
Related.
because I started IBM in '99. I left there like the early 2001, and I
Yeah,
started working
so it
at
must
other
have been a
places
little bit.
2001. and
Yeah.
then it
Right,
happened.
so I was working at IBM, and I used to have the same routine. I get out about 7:30, work from 7 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. I was living in Montclair in Wappingers area in New York, and I went home and I would do the same thing. I'd watch ESPN, I'd watch the top 10 plays and all this, whatever. I was a lot more into sports then. So I was laying down, I was eating cereal, and I passed out on the couch, and I woke up, and I think it was probably just before 9 o'clock. I think the first tower was already hit. And it was on. It got every news outlet was covered. Obviously, it got taken over. And I know it sounds silly to say in hindsight, but if a sports channel gets interrupted, I mean,
No,
there'll be a mass shooting. You won't know until after sports
Yeah,
is
right.
over.
Yes,
They will not
exactly.
start. They're like,
Yeah,
no.
oh
Yes.
yeah, there was also mass shooting. You know how it is.
Yeah,
You do not
yeah.
interrupt it.
yeah, for sure.
So I was so
couldn't agree more.
disoriented because I was coming off that night shift. I don't know how many shifts I had already worked. I probably was like my second to last day because I remember they said people didn't have to come in that night. Actually, I remember that. And then anyway, I was really disoriented, discombobulated, and I see the tower smoking, and I swear to God, I know it sounds so dumb, but I thought it was a Die Hard movie because I couldn't even comprehend
what
that
was
this
going on?
Yeah.
It was
would
so
be happening.
surreal.
I've never seen
It was
anything like it.
extremely surreal. It was insane.
So I'm
It's
just
like
sitting
watching a
there with
movie.
my
It
mouth.
really
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I thought was happening. It took me like a good 30 seconds to a minute to be like, oh my God, this is actually happening. I remember my heart started racing. I started sweating a little bit.
Yeah.
So I have family members. My grandfather works down there
Yep.
in Tower 2.
Yeah.
My sister works on Wall Street. And just the devastation in general. Not just my family, everybody's. I think that was the one thing that I don't think we were necessarily ever closer as a country in the weeks and months
Yeah,
afterwards.
I agree
Yeah, no,
completely.
definitely.
I feel
People
the
were like
same way.
nicer than they ever were, which is, if there was any silver line, it's even a hard word to say a silver line, this kind of atrocity, but I would say
Yeah.
it was that.
Yeah, it
That's
sort
tough.
of brought the
So-
country together
so-
for a short period
yeah.
of time. I have so many stories when it comes to that.
Well, tell
Yeah.
the one main story, the one
Yeah.
that I know you
Well,
always say I make fun of you
let me-
about,
I'll
but no,
make-
I believe you.
I'm
on it.
going
I
to just make
Oh, yeah,
because I
about
had,
okay.
and I don't know if it's a premonition, and it may even sound crazy, but again,
It's
I
Friday
was-
the 13th, now's the time to tell it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
I
yeah.
was, working in Terrytown at the time, and I used to drive
Which is
down
in
the
Westchester,
Taconic
if you're not
Parkway every
familiar.
single day to work, and drive home to Sprain and go back up, and
Oh, right, you were in Terrytown a lot
yeah,
then.
and it was so weird because I remember the day before it happened, the day before 9/11 happened, I was driving home, and I remember exactly where it was when I thought it. I was driving up just on the Sprain just before it connects to the Taconic, and I was thinking about the first attack that they had when the vans went in and blew up.
My
and
Yeah,
grandfather was
tried to
there
take
then
take
too,
towers
down
93?
there.
I thought it was
91.
93.
Yeah, and I was
it might have been 93.
No, fact checker.
whatever.
Yeah,
Check
right,
when
but,
that first attack
I
was.
think that
the
was
van
93. I could
attack
be
on
wrong.
the-
But I remember my
It
grandfather was
Oh, yeah,
working
with,
there then too.
Ramsey Youssef.
Yeah, I should
Yeah.
be. I
Yes.
should know that.
So-
I
That
read.
guy was
I,
out to
I
lunch in
read
Jersey.
I read the book. I read the book, The Looming Tower. It's amazing.
Oh, is that good?
Best book.
1993.
1993. So
93.
Yeah,
I was
Ramsey
thinking
Youssef.
about that particular moment, and I was thinking, man, and
was also
I was
a
just
fan.
the thoughts were crossing my mind. What if that thing actually worked and they blew out the the footings of that thing and it was collapsed? And I was the day before I was thinking about that, and I was thinking to myself, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember how sunny it was that day, and I can remember thinking to myself, they're going to try it. It's going to happen again. They're going to try to attack it again.
So what, this is the day before you're
This
saying?
was the very day before. I'm driving home.
Yeah.
And then the next day I drove to work, and I'm driving down the Taconic Parkway.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't put it together. But as I'm driving down the Taconic Parkway, there was a plane that flew past me on my left. And I remember thinking to myself,
But you got to explain, too, because don't forget, the Taconic
all right,
follows the
I'm
Hudson
going to
River.
explain
Right, that's
all
going
that.
south toward the
I'm going to
city.
explain it. Well,
Right.
it goes south. Right, the Taconic
What time
Parkway
was this,
goes
like,
from
where you used to go?
Albany, or not from Albany,
past
from
Albany,
Massachusetts down straight into the city. If you follow, goes right straight into
Right.
New York City.
Literally.
And so I saw this plane just really low, so low I could see the windows it was like, and I was like, wow.
What time would you normally?
I was leaving. I start work at 9. It was like 1:45, something like that. It was like 8:45, 8:40, somewhere 8:43, somewhere around there.
Right.
And I was listening to Curtis and Kuby in the morning, and I'm driving
Curtis
down,
and
and I
Kuby,
saw the
wow.
plane fly past me, and I thought to myself, wow, that's odd, because the plane was so low. And I'm thinking I'm close to Westchester Airport. I mean, I was all the way down, almost to the
Right,
point where the
Westchester Airport's
Taconic
close
splits
there.
off onto the sawmill, because that's where I go off on the sawmill and go down.
Yeah.
So I'm coming down there. I see this plane. I didn't think about it at the time, other than it was odd that it was flying so low, and it never crossed my mind. So went down. As I start going on to the sawmill, I'm listening to Curtis and Kuby. All of a sudden they announced that there's a plane that just hit the World Trade Center. And then Curtis and Kuby's arguing back and forth about, Curtis is like, let's not jump to conclusions. So he's the liberal one. He's like, let's not jump. It's not terrorists. And of course, Curtis is like, it's terrorists. It's terrorists. So they're back and forth. And then I drove down a little. I got to work, and I came up, went upstairs, and I said, the plane just hit the World Trade Center. They said it was, at the time, they didn't know it was a big plane. They thought it was like a small
they had
Cessna
no
or
idea.
something. They didn't know.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
But by the time I got into work, they had it up on the internet at that time. Believe it or not, they had internet then. It was just the beginning of it. But they were saying it was a plane. It was a bigger plane. There's a big hole in the side.
Yep.
And it just as I went in, I started work. And then they called me, and another hit the other tower.
Another plane hit.
Now, I was doing chemical reactions at that time, and I had just started a particular phase of a chemical reaction, so it takes a certain amount of time for that to go through. So the second plane hits, someone comes in, announces it to me in the lab, and then about an hour and a half later, a woman comes in. I hear she was crying. First tower collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second tower collapsed. And I'm still where I couldn't leave because I had to wait for the reaction to finish. So finally, they sent everybody home. I waited for the reaction. I got out of work and I went home. Now, I didn't know about that plane. But then when they were doing the news, they were saying where the planes were coming from. And they were saying that one plane followed the Taconic Parkway into the city.
But I
came out of
thought
Boston.
They said it followed the Hudson River, though.
No. Well, I just
thing?
The Hudson River's
Yes.
right there.
So
It's right there.
that's what I'm saying.
But it
that's what I
flew
was trying
out
to
of
tell you.
Boston Airport.
Yeah, it followed the Hudson
flew
River.
down, and it caught the Taconic.
You're fine. Go ahead.
It caught the Taconic and followed the Taconic straight down into the city. And that was the plane that flew past me. And then that's when it clicked, and I said, what? I saw the
That's crazy.
I saw the plane. I was freaking out at that
That's
point.
nuts.
And this is
As
the
long
day
as my
before I
volume
was
in there is
thinking
good.
about it. I was thinking about how.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep.
So I think we'll take a little break
go
and
to
we'll
a
come
break?
back. So
Check out a word from our announcers.
Yes,
absolutely.
our sponsors.
Sounds good.
Are you tired of the nuances of air travel? Are prices getting way too high on airlines these days? Looking for a brand new airline to fit all of your travel needs? Well, then today is your lucky day. We at Loosely Related Airlines would like to welcome you to a whole new era of air travel. Loosely Related Airlines is bringing innovation to the skies. Our prices are so cheap that we're known as the dollar store in the clouds. We've said screw it to ticket prices upwards of hundreds of dollars. Instead, Loosely Related Airlines only charges as high as around $35 for you to have a seat on our flights. If you're okay traveling completely naked of essentials, that is. Want to bring anything on board our flight more than a feather pen and a crack pipe? It's an extra $25 for every bag you check onto our flights that isn't a carry-on, because God forbid you bring clothes on your trip. What classifies a carry-on? One fanny pack. Anything more and you better pay up, buddy. Want to enjoy food and beverages on our flight? Well, you better get those credit cards out from your wallets, because we don't even take cash payments. Paper currency is so 10 years ago. And you better remember those cards, because we don't even give out pretzels on the flights. That's right. Our airline encourages a healthy lifestyle through in-flight fasting, so some of you can finally fit in our seats. Speaking of seats, we found a way to fit 4 seats onto each side of every row on our planes. Are they spacious? Of course not. Don't worry, though. We've extended our legroom by shrinking our seat trays down to the size of a fucking peanut. Good luck balancing that $5 soda on your lap during turbulence. Book right now. Please go to our website at looselyrelatedAirlines.com or dial the number 1-800-382-5968. Fly today and say goodbye to your wallets.
So we'll just, we'll move along with the heavy topics. Let's have a little fun. all
Okay,
right?
that sounds good.
We'll just have a little bit of fun. And we've been doing the National Celebration Day. So we'll go
First
over
of all, wait a minute. You guys should just switch spots. Now, so I can still call you Rob, though, right? I'm going to call you Dad.
I'm playing the role of Joe Hassett / Dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and I'm going to be playing the much better looking Robert Hickson.
Yeah,
All right?
that's fine.
Okay.
And Rob is the slightly more effeminate Joe Hassett.
Yes.
That stands to reason.
So
Yeah.
do you get the same
What
thrills?
the hell? Am I getting raped right now by everybody?
Do you get the same thrills sitting next to me now that I do when I sit next to you?
Absolutely not.
No, oh, damn it. All
You
right,
know
I
what's
was
funny?
hoping
After
it was-
last week's episode, Rob wanted to buy light beer for himself at the beer place today. He was
I've
like,
been drinking
I'm
light
going to stick with later. You've been doing
See?
well with
Yeah.
it, though.
Yeah.
Listen, light beer is good. And
Thanks.
I like,
I'm crushing the diet program.
You're
I'm just
doing
eating
great
whatever
with
the
that.
hell I want, but now I'm drinking diet
Rob's
beer.
doing the
That's-
intermittent
light beer.
fasting for light beer. All he does is
For
he
beer.
does 18 hours on of just light beer only.
Liquid diet.
All right, so some of the national days today are kind of interesting. They're, and the
doubt
ones
it, but
tomorrow are
let's
kind
hear
of cool too. But this one's not so cool. National Kids Take Over the Kitchen Day.
Oh my god, that
What
would be
is
that,
that?
that would be your worst nightmare.
That would be a bad day. I wouldn't
I
want to
wish my
celebrate.
kids
Who would
could
want
get
to
in there and maybe
celebrate
wash
that
the
day?
dishes.
Who wants to celebrate National Kids Take Over the Kitchen Day?
That's like a
I
peanut
like
butter and
that
jelly
kids'
sandwich
moms
every
do it.
single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
With
know.
no
I'm kinda tired
variation.
of making stuff. You don't want your kids to do crap? I wish my kids would get in there. And
If
start
they
washing
take over the
dishes.
kitchen and do positive things, yeah, that'd be good.
Oh,
That
well,
would be a
yeah,
good
sure.
thing to
Yeah, I
celebrate. But if
guess-
they took over
Yeah.
the
We
We
kitchen,
should
and
just assume being their
we're
kids,
just-
they're not going to do anything.
yeah,
positive.
exactly.
I got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I got you. That's true.
And I was going to bring again. I never bring anything. I was going to bring a
you said-
hibachi last week because it was the cookout.
Oh
day.
yeah, you
Right, now
freaking
yeah.
let
I
me
don't want to
down
ruin your
this week
national
with that.
day.
And then we were
And-
going to bring peanuts today.
Well, and I didn't bring peanuts
Right, I
today
don't
because I was
understand.
too busy trying to put my plumbing back together in my house, and that didn't work out. So
That's what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when you get a little older. Sometimes your plumbing doesn't work like it used to.
yeah,
Yeah.
But they make
Literally
plenty
and
of blue pills
figuratively.
for that.
yes. I don't need a blue pill.
Okay.
I don't need the blue pill.
Whatever color the pill is, he's
Oh.
taking Viagra. That's all I'm saying.
Why oh why didn't I take the blue pill?
Yes. Uncle Sam Day.
Matrix.
I thought Uncle Sam Day was
Matrix.
July
Yeah.
4th. July 4th.
I
yeah,
got
that
it.
makes
Wait,
sense.
was it?
Literally like Independence Day because that's the day America was born,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but it's Uncle Sam Day.
Okay.
Or
Today.
like my Uncle Sam. It's like Joe Hassett's Uncle Sam
We
Day.
have an Uncle Sam.
Joe
Hey,
Hass's
Uncle Sam,
Uncle
thanks
Sam
for-
Day. It's probably just some random Sam that somebody said, "Hey, why don't we let's put in a thing, put in the application for a Sam.
When
We'll
are we
put in
going to have
Uncle
that
Sam
loosely
Day."
related podcast day? I'm serious about
I
that.
don't
No,
think
we're-
there's
we're
any
doing-
days left. I don't think they're going to be like, "Well,
Well,
we
some
ran
days
out."
have 9
We're
things
full.
on them.
You're-
They can
Yeah,
just put
right.
it in to shove
Well,
it
you
in
know
there.
what?
You have
I
to
like-
go on a waiting list for your day because
exactly
wait
it.
till it opens up.
But I think that
eventually it'll happen.
our holiday will celebrate how freaking loosely related to all these other national holidays are.
You know what? That's
Yes.
true.
It
Absolutely.
goes. We went from Kids in the Kitchen Day to Uncle Sam Day to what I imagine is going to be probably Dad
Completely,
likes to wear a
it's-
black robe for no reason and no one talk and not
We'll
talk
find
about
out
it on
about
camera.
that pretty
Day.
soon. That's coming up.
People are watching like, what the?
That's
Is he
coming up
wearing
next.
a black robe?
I just had to put the guns away. That's all.
Yes.
Howdy,
Oh my God.
howdy. That's what it's gonna be.
I just had to
Find
cover.
out about it.
Just had to cover the guns. I didn't want to have it as a constant distraction on film.
Right.
It is. Rob has a hard time with that.
Yes.
That's why, but Brian's wearing a cutoff right now. It's been just very distracting for me.
Yeah.
He has that tank
It is.
top on. It's
But I'm
very,
behind the
very
camera.
sexy.
Yeah.
And a
which is
midriff
fine.
shirt.
See, Brian. That's why I put Brian there because it looks like I'm looking at the camera. I'm not looking at the camera.
Yeah. National Celiac Disease Awareness
Oh,
Day.
please do not even start
Oh
saying.
my God, Rob.
I'm tired of pomegranate and all this other fake shenanigans.
Celiac
that people,
awa-
celiac disease. No, you don't.
Celiac Disease Awareness. I don't
like
even know.
two people actually have that.
It's
One of
a-
them's Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam. That's
Wait,
probably
Rob,
why it's probably
hold
same
on,
day.
Dad. What do you think it is?
Celiac is probably something related to the blood. I'm sure, but I don't know what it is.
Well, I have no idea about that, but
what
it's
celiac
is it
is.
not gluten? It's
Yeah,
gluten,
it's
right?
gluten
It's gluten.
intolerance. Not gluten
Celiac-
intolerance,
Oh.
but an actual gluten allergy. And
Okay.
not
Yes.
to malign or make fun of people actually have that disease because it'll really actually jack up your intestines. You won't be able to absorb vitamins and stuff. But the reality is like Many people are. It's like when I was a kid, I didn't even ever heard of a kid who was allergic to peanuts. Now apparently you'll be arrested if you bring him into a school cafeteria.
Yeah, but not measles.
Yeah. No, measles is good to
No,
go.
measles, you're good.
No, if you have
What do
measles, you're good to go. We actually had a
measles?
rollout case today. It was pretty legit.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I don't want to hijack. So wait, it's peanuts allergy day or it's just regular peanuts? I'm surprised that.
National
Well, it's
Peanut Day.
Peanut,
Oh,
National
okay. They're
Peanut
still allowed to have a
Peanut
national day. I'm
Okay.
surprised.
Peanut
fair
Uncle Sam and Celiac and take over the kitchen. I don't know, whatever.
And then-
And then this one's kind of interesting. And then this one's kind of right up, sort of Rob. It's sort of Rob, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe even me a little bit, and you to a certain extent.
Okay.
National Bald is Beautiful Day.
Okay.
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 Why are you putting
Listen,
you in
man.
there too now?
Well,
huh?
no, listen. You know what? I get it. That's fair.
You're
That's
thinning.
Fair. That's fair.
We're all thinning.
I just, you know what it is?
Brian's
I,
not thinning. Brian's got decent hair over there, but
I figured out a way to
Joe's
curb
hairline
it.
starts at his neck at this point.
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
better
it's-
stop
it's
talking
like-
about me.
Yeah.
it's starting to get there.
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
So that's the national days. And now we are going to move on to a new segment we're going to introduce
brand
to
new
the show.
segment.
Brand
Yeah.
new segment.
Ooh, Joe, don't keep us
We've
waiting
had
in
some-
anticipation.
So our next segment is pointless counterpoints.
Don't be a Duma.
We
Don't
spent
be a Duma.
Duma. We spent time upstairs trying to figure out what we're going to call it. So we did, and we just talked about it, and I completely forgot. It's
Right on the
pointless
fly, we're making this up.
counterpoints. What we're going to do today, guys, is we're going to Brian. This is Brian's idea actually,
Yep.
and I like the idea, so we decided to try it. Brian has a hat full of ideas and
20
arguments,
ideas.
and you two guys are going to argue both sides of the topic, and I, as the judge,
Well, we have to argue for
Wait.
and against each.
Oh,
for and
wait,
against,
so
and
just
For
one
or
is for and
against?
one is against.
No
Yes.
matter. Like,
We're not doing both sides.
No.
no.
No, right?
One of you are going to argue for the point, the
Okay,
other is going to
there
argue
you go.
against the point.
That's the
And-
point.
and you will have
counterpoint,
you will
or the
have
pointless counterpoint.
you will have 2 minutes, or I'll give you 3 minutes to argue your point, and the
Yeah?
next person.
I
will
hope I
go.
come with 3 minutes of
let's do
information.
2 minutes because I don't know if I
What
can.
All right,
this?
2
What
minutes
is it
because
gonna
we might
be?
have.
You know what's gonna piss
We
me
don't
off?
know. They're completely
That's what I'm saying.
random topics picked by
Yeah.
Brian, and
We'll
we'll
see.
find out
You know what's
very
gonna
shortly
suck is
what
I'm
they're
gonna
going
say
to be.
I'm gonna say I don't want to do more than two. Two's gonna be more than enough.
Yeah,
And then
well.
Brian's first topic's gonna be like, talk about Gears of War. And I'm like, I want 20 minutes for Gears of War. Can we switch it?
And at
How
the-
do we decide who's for and who's against? We just swap.
Brian
it
will
I will
decide
decide.
who's
Okay.
going to do it.
Okay.
All right.
So I have the topic.
Oh, cool, man. This is cool. All right, cool.
All right. And then you're gonna what?
At the end of the pointless counterpoint, I will make the judgment.
Declare a winner.
I will declare who I
After
believe
each point, or whatever.
argued the point the best.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Pro
okay.
or
more entertaining.
pro or
who's the
anti.
best, or-
So
All right,
one.
and then can we just yell out stupid crap like objection?
You can.
Yes,
listen,
if you think that
Overruled.
somebody,
right.
they-
I think
they-
that's you. Do
That's
that.
there
you.
can be a rebuttal if you want. We'll have a 1 minute rebuttal.
Yeah.
2 minutes of argument,
I don't
1
know.
minute of rebuttal.
This
That-
is getting
that
confused.
could-
What are we gonna be racing for the presidency next?
and I will keep track of the time.
Yeah.
All
Very
right.
simple.
All right.
Do you
Okay.
think this is simple? Have you ever seen him track the time?
No.
Well, I have the
You've
one
seen him
thing.
track the dates of the year. That
All right.
doesn't go well.
The
Let's
one
hop into
thing
it.
I will even do it. Let's see if Siri will
All right.
understand what I'm saying here.
I don't.
Hey Siri, set a timer for 2 minutes.
Let's see.
Your timer is set for 2 minutes.
Okay.
There you go.
I gotta be
Ordering.
honest, that's a nice
All right, so
Ordering
that-
Chinese food from your local restaurant.
So today's topic for pointless counterpoints is technology should be eradicated and people should be forced to use only smoke signals for long distance communication. Joey will be arguing pro.
Yes.
Rob will be arguing against.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, this is perfect. Okay.
All right, can you repeat that one more time, Brian,
Okay.
just so we know exactly what we're arguing here?
So the topic is technology should be eradicated and people should be forced to use only smoke signals for long distance communication.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, so you ready?
Oh yeah, I've been ready. I've actually
Okay.
been prepared. See, the problem is I told Rob,
He leaked
Rob,
into this.
you don't gotta prepare for this episode at all.
I
Don't
know.
worry about it. It's fine. Then I'm like, hey Ryan, send me every single thing. I'm gonna write a 5-page paper on each.
A
I'm gonna do
I hate to
research.
admit it, but that's what
Order
I'm
I'm
in
gonna
the
get
court.
papers
All
published.
right, all right.
All right, fair enough.
All right, all right.
Nice,
All right,
look
who
at
wants
that.
to go? You want to start with your? Oh, who? It doesn't matter. to me,
I'll do the
honestly.
pro. Yo,
Yeah.
Go with the
Dad,
pro, I guess,
you're the
eh?
judge. Who goes first?
All right.
I will. It's always prosecution goes first and defense second. So the positive. Who's the positive? Who's arguing for?
I'm
He's
already
for.
So you are arguing the pro side of this. So you
Right.
are up first.
Okay.
Okay.
So
So
You
get
gonna
ready.
time me? All right.
Yes, on your mark, get set, go.
So I think it's very obvious that nowadays people have lost the idea of being able to look out their windows and be able to actually experience what it's like to see something and immediately know what it is. Because all we're ever used to nowadays is looking at computer screens, and we experience our lives through computer screens. Well, what's ever going to happen if you see smoke from a burning house? You're going to look at the house and say, what's going on over there? I have no idea what that is, right? Because everyone is so distracted by technology. Nowadays, the only way to really be able to understand things is to do everything visually. So we need to get away from screens. Anything through a screen is a lie. It's not real. Anything you look at a TV screen or computer monitor is fake. All of it. Every single thing. Doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if it's a weather channel and they're literally showing you a picture of the sun. It's fake. It's bullshit. Don't look at it. Walk outside and look at the sun. That's real, okay? If you're looking at if you take a picture of the sun on your phone and look at it, okay? That's now fake. That is now fake. That sun that you just took a picture of is now fake. So I would argue that how we should communicate, if we go ahead and get rid of all of that, that's smoke signals. I think screens are detrimental. I think that technology is making us forget that it is more important to be able to understand visual things in the environment. And I would go as far as to say that if you cannot look at a smoke signal and say to yourself, oh, something bad's about to happen, you're probably not human. You might be like maybe an android or something like that, or some kind of a weird thing. I would say abolish technology, because screens make us stupid to what's real and what's fake. And the only thing that's real is things that we can see with our eyes in the real world. Thank you.
Okay, and you had 10 seconds left.
Wow.
Look at that.
Impressive.
Hey, that was very good. Yeah.
Like I said, listen, I've been talking about this for years. So
Now 2 minutes might be too long for that segment, so we're thinking the next
just
argument
use
we're going to
up
move
to
it to you don't have to use the whole 2 minutes.
Yeah, just give it.
If you've
Oh, yeah,
argued your
listen.
I'm
thing.
not going to use too much.
like
So-
I said, I have 2 minutes of
I'm
content.
already
It's what
forgetting
it is,
my
what it
counter
is.
argument.
All right, so are you
I'm
ready
trying to
with
keep track.
Are you ready with your
Okay.
counter argument?
Yes, I'm ready to
All
go.
right, go.
Joey would have you all believe this nonsense that we can take these flabby little diabetes-filled asthma-induced babies and have them run outside and they'd fall down in a minute, okay? The idea of this beautiful nature is much better imagined from thoughts you have on the television screen than reality. If you look out your window today, you probably see someone get shot. Is that what you want your children to look at? All this crap outside and pollution? It's only a thought. It's always better in your head than in the reality. Secondly, Joey, really, not Joey. Joe's so slow at texting, he can't even say, hello, Rob, how are you doing, before I rapid fire him 17 messages. Can you imagine how long it would take me to get a smoke signal of hello from Joe?
Damn it.
Not to mention, it's not a year that goes by where some small kid isn't lost to a bonfire because they're trying to talk to their uncle who lives in Texas. We can't have all these kids dying in a fire. And lastly, this is an argument made from a kid. Well, he supposedly has 17 Bangladeshi kids. But if you've ever been forced to listen for 10 minutes about why his 4-year-old thinks he can play Hello Neighbor because he has a fake lock and a toothpick and how he wants you to get involved, you'd kill yourself. Put him in front of a TV. I think everybody can agree technology is here to stay. End of my point.
All right.
This is not what I
So-
was expecting.
You have I'm going to give you a 30-second rebuttal.
30-second rebuttal. Okay.
All right.
All right.
So go.
Yes, it is true what Rob said, that it is fun to go ahead and have children get away from you. I am the number one advocate of getting your children to leave you the hell alone for 37 seconds. There is no better way to get your children to leave you alone than to say, oh my God, is that a smoke signal off in the distance about 5 miles away? You need to run the full 5 miles and go make sure that that's a smoke signal, and then come back and tell me what the person wanted. There's no better thing than that. You get 5 minutes of free time. There we go.
Okay. Rob, you want rebuttal?
I will rebut that.
All right.
Okay.
Why does it say 2 minutes?
Because
thought
I
it was
don't
30
feel like
seconds.
resetting it. Just count it.
See, you can't
You
even
just
do the
lost 5
timer. I
seconds.
told you. Okay, fine.
We're going to impeach
If
you.
everybody had to converse using smoke signals, we'd die from smog pollution outside. You wouldn't see shit. Everything would be black in the story.
Damn it, Rob's making it too legit.
That was
That's
quick.
not fair.
All right.
That's too legit. All
All right. I've reached a verdict.
Okay.
Ooh, verdict.
My verdict is in favor of Joey.
Oh, look
And
at
the only
that.
reason why I say you had a good point, you had me for a second there when you talked about the texting thing. But it's exactly the reason why I hate technology, because I can't use it other than if I could pick up a phone and call it. It's great. It's easy. Smoke signals back in my day were the easiest things ever because everything was on
But
fire.
see, I guess it's sort of an unbiased
So
thing because
okay.
we
you
became-
were a part
Objection. I want 12 of my peers.
of it. Exactly.
This-
This is unbiased.
Friggin' bull crap. No,
All right, so let's
Dad,
move on.
Good
Dad
argument.
lit the first smoke signal ever.
I know.
Yes.
It's like a really nostalgia thing for him.
Yeah,
I never had a
exactly.
chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring on the next case.
The next case. Okay, so next I believe we. So do you want to do one more? Or?
One more.
One more.
Okay, we'll do one more.
All right.
Okay, so this is a more straightforward one.
Okay.
Is Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity the better game?
Ooh.
And so we're gonna do.
I'm resetting the time.
Rob will be in favor of Cards Against Humanity, and Joey will be in favor of Apples to Apples.
Okay.
I'm going to make it the segment a little shorter this time just so we can get to some other
More
things. 1
challenging,
minute with a 30-second rebuttal.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, so ready, Joey?
All right. I am ready. Okay,
for it.
so first things first.
you're
Well,
for it?
it's two different things.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're both for or
So
something, right?
Apples
Yeah.
to Apples
Okay.
is definitely a game that I think that anybody could love with your friends and your family. I think it's fun and it's good. Here's the problem with Cards Against Humanity. I'm just going to go straight counter. I'm not even going to go ahead and go with Cards Against Humanity. Apples to Apples. Cards Against Humanity, you're playing with your aunt, your uncle, you're playing with your grandma and your grandpa. That gets real awkward real quick. It is a super uncomfortable thing. Apples to Apples, you can play with your pastor, you can play with your boss, you can go ahead and play with whoever the hell you want to play with. It literally is about picking. Apples to Apples is a game where they'll say, oh, you got to pick mustard on Michael Jackson's Thriller video. And it's like, oh, I can argue that. I can argue that with my 3-year-old nephew. No big deal. Cards Against Humanity is out here being like, you have to argue about dildos covered in whipped cream.
Yeah. That's
And that's it. Point concluded.
true. Okay. Are you ready, Rob, for your
All right,
pro
ready to
on Cards Against Humanity? Ready?
All right. First of all, I mean, Joey, you made the argument for me, honestly. Who wants to play with their pastor, their aunt, and uncle? You can play a little wee Monopoly. I don't want to play with Grandma Moses with Apples to Apples. Yeah, it's a cute little quaint game. But Cards Humanity says, stay the fuck home. We got things to do here. So that's one. Part two about that is like, Apples to Apples was like that original, we're dipping our toes in the naughty waters. But really, all it is just like, oh, we're gonna kind of go there, but we're not. It's like dry humping. Do you want to dry hump your date, or are you gonna try to get all the way with that?
Oh my God.
It's like you don't have time for the dry hump, and you just feel all rough and chapped, and you act like you had a good time, and it's all for the other person. Cartoon Humanity is like Twitter, and Apples to Apples is like MySpace. It's irrelevant. Nobody cares.
Do you want a rebuttal?
I don't
Joey.
know.
Can
sure.
you rebut that?
I don't know. I'll try.
All right, so then let me go your 30 seconds here.
All right. What? You know what? Yeah. Okay.
you wanna
Yeah,
do it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I'll do it.
Here
okay.
we
Ready?
go.
Here we go. Go. All right. So here's what I would say. It is definitely true that Apples to Apples is the MySpace of social media. Guess what was the most? Every single aunt and uncle and mom and dad and grandpa had a MySpace. Everybody has a Facebook nowadays, but what I would argue is that Apples to Apples is actually really more of the Facebook nowadays. I'm not saying Facebook is necessarily as popular as everything else, but everybody loves Facebook. Everybody loves Apples to Apples.
Would you like a rebuttal?
Sure. I'll just summarize this.
All right.
Nope. There you go. Okay.
Go
All right,
ahead.
here we go.
All right. Apples to Apples is outdated. It's old. It's crusty. You know what else starts in apples? Granny apples. It sounds like old. It smells like mothballs and your old hosiery. Nobody wants to deal with anyone with that. It smells like mothballs and just garbage. Apples to Apples is boring. Nobody wants to hear that crap, and it's going to leave you uncomfortable and acting like you had a good time when you didn't. The end.
Okay.
All right.
So this particular topic, I've played both games, so this is a difficult decision for me.
Difficult.
It's a difficult
It is
decision to
racking.
make
Even
Racking
for
is the
me,
brain.
it's the easiest thing in the world.
because I like both games, but they are so completely different. But if I had to pick one of these, my decision is in favor of Mr. Robert Hickson.
All right.
1-1.
And the reason why I say that is because I think that game is way more fun, way more exciting. It is a little bit more racy than Apple to Apples, but like Rob said, Apple to Apple is a game you play with people you don't want to get their ruffle their feathers or be fearful of ruffling their feathers or whatever the case may be.
They're
and
probably
I
the
think
only ones listening to us right now. So
probably.
Exactly.
And
Apples to apples is safe.
yeah, it's a
Yes, it
safe
is.
game to play, but I think that the cards in Cards for Against Humanity are so much more funny. I mean,
Oh, of course
they're
are.
so
No,
funny.
deliberately.
I've had
yeah.
so many laughs playing
And
that
of course,
game.
obviously,
They can
I
get
love
really
Cards Against
bad.
Humanity.
Plus, you
so
saw that
funny.
the Tea Party's coming out with a game next year called Guns Against Humanity.
Oh, really?
It's on it.
Oh, that's
well.
wow. That's a good, Rob. That's good. You know what, Rob? That was actually too highbrow for us. It was actually that was a solid joke.
All right, so so from here we'll move on to the
So
next
now be the end
topic.
of
You
the
guys,
next thing.
do you want to go for best of 3 or?
I think that we're probably. I mean, I don't know about you. I mean, you're the host this week. If you want to do whatever you want to do,
I think we'll move on to the
the
next. I think we'll move up to the next topic, and
I'm excited about that.
Happened? Are you
What the
taking
heck is
bribes
that?
in
Are
the
you-
back? What is
I
this
may
white
be.
stuff?
Look at
It's
that
very
white stuff
possible.
on his coat. He
White
has-
stuff on the top. I still thought you were supposed to
that
be
brand
above
new?
reproach. What is this?
I slipped behind. I was outside
Yeah.
a little, you know.
Well, somebody came by.
So-
So, wait, is that a black robe? Oh, well, you know what we do with your black robes, right? And then
Well,
that was it.
I almost got mugged
There we go.
because of it, the black robe.
That's what it is. I think you're a judge. Everybody hates judges.
Yes, you know.
That's a thing.
I put
They
too
only
many,
knew because he was running around with his plastic gavel.
I
though.
put way too many people away because I disagreed with their feelings on their games and the types of games that they play and the types
This
of
is
technology
kind
they
of the edgy
choose. So
things that we
you guys
talk
need
about,
to
right?
be careful,
Right.
all right, here because
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah,
Okay, I see.
all right.
I see where you're going with this.
I don't
the
want
kind
you
of
guys
edgy
mugging
things we
me
talk
when you
about.
get
Look
out.
at that. Look at that. Look at that great segue. Look at that. That was a pretty good segue.
Yeah.
All right, so or do we have another segment to do?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Time
well, you were just talking
capsule.
about
We're gonna do-
technology, right?
Yeah,
So
we're gonna
you
go.
can
We're gonna go
that.
into the time capsule, and the thing I think would be interesting here is
Ooh,
we're
the time capsule.
before we go to let me bring up one thing because this was the first fantasy week. We had fantasy football for the
Oh,
first time this
wow.
week, and I
Yeah.
almost forgot to mention it.
We want to talk about it.
So I want to talk about our fantasy football teams for this week. I
Yeah.
actually finished in first place in both. Well, no,
Dude, yeah, you did really well.
He
in
did.
ours.
He did
I
really
did
well.
well in
Really great.
both. I'm in first
Yeah.
place in my other league, and I should have really been in first place.
Let's
We're tied.
just say it is the first week.
It is the first
Verify
week, but,
this.
first
but for me being in first place for the first week of the year
Enjoy it.
is yeah.
He's in
At
like an
least
8-way
I'm
tie.
there.
An 8-way time.
At least I can enjoy
It's
that.
good
for
on
No,
in
no,
first
you had a
place.
great, you had a great.
No, you
game.
had a good week. You
You're
had a
awesome.
good week.
You and
So-
Joe both
You
had
had
a
a
nice
good
week.
You did.
And I wrecked it in the other league. The other league I had 174 points, and in my league we had 100.
Which is
I had
a lot. It's
178.
right. That's a
For
lot for
context,
everybody
that
out
is
there.
And I-
good
and I
for
left-
that format.
Yeah.
And I took 2 players out before the weekend started that I should have left in. I would have had an additional like 22
Yeah.
points on top of that and went over 200 points or close to 200 points.
It was a good week, man.
It was very good. So my team did
New
well.
week's coming up.
And it started on Thursday, and Christian McCaffrey screwed the pooch for me.
Not as bad as O.J. Howard did for me.
Yeah,
I got
well,
a solid
he's
goose
pretty
egg.
bad.
How
Yeah.
bad
Wow.
was McCarroll? Was it that bad, was he?
Zero.
Huh?
He got okay
Who?
points.
7 points.
7?
That's
7.
definitely
Versus
over
like
him,
what,
man.
27
Versus
last 30,
40,
42 last
42,
week.
I think he had last week.
So I mean, if I average them together, it's actually
I'm
not
not an
that
accountant
bad.
or anything, but that 7 is
Not
less than
yet.
42.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, he had really bad. That was. I mean, that's for my best player to start off like that. I'm not too happy about it.
That was rough. That's rough for sure. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
So far, so good for me.
Fantasy football's looking good, man. Giants are looking terrible.
Yeah,
Got,
the Giants. I have no expectations.
But
for
wait,
the
they got
Giants.
Daniel Jones. I thought all their problems were fixed.
Yeah,
He
no.
came in and then he immediately. Did you know what happened? Right, he did come in
He
the
did.
fourth quarter with 1 minute and 49 seconds left.
No, I
and-
didn't know that.
You didn't know this?
No,
Oh
what?
my God! Get ready for a spoiler
Oh, I
alert,
didn't even
ladies
know
and
this either,
gentlemen.
because-
What?
Daniel Jones came in
I
with
did-
with a 1 minute and 49 seconds left in the Cowboys game. First play from scrimmage,
Interception.
he fumbles it.
Oh
Sacked.
no,
He went for. He tried to scramble and he fell and he fumbled it.
he was probably
and
nervous.
the Giants like lost,
Yeah,
like
I'm sure.
fumbled.
That's Eli-esque.
Yep.
Wow.
And that was it.
Eli
That's how the
esque
game
and
ended.
Bajer. Remember the first 4 seasons of Eli? I was like,
Oh, it was,
It was
really
bad,
bad.
man.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
bad.
horrendous.
Yeah.
Well, luckily he didn't play he played half. He didn't play the first part of the first
I think
season.
we should probably make. If this seems like we're predicting the future, have this as a time capsule because at the end of the season we'll be
Yeah.
talking about when Joe was in first place in week 1 of the
Yeah,
season.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Remember
Well-
my highlight in week 1?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
That's
remember
it.
this. I'm glad I have it on film because at least I can brag about the one time that I had first place. in
I'm
my league.
already nervous about my team. You get nervous,
But
right
you
away. I had a
always
bad
get
out, and I was
nervous.
like, oh.
But you always start
Yeah,
in the middle
no,
to the
I-
bottom and then
Yeah.
battle your way
I
back up
started
to the
at the
top.
bottom,
Rob,
now I'm here.
Rob, every season you
Every
bounce back
season.
somehow.
Yeah. Because I'm scrounging that waiver wire, waiting for you to put away them easy pickings for me.
So anyway, I want to talk about technology in our time capsule segment, and what we were going to talk about today is what our first game.
Oh,
gaming
game system, right? Console
Game
games
systems.
or whatever it was. We didn't have consoles when you were young, right?
Oh yeah.
They had home consoles.
NES.
Yeah,
NES
yeah.
was
When
a
you were
console.
little?
No, when I was very little, actually, the first one
What
that
the hell are you talking
now it
about?
wasn't.
Pong was out in the 70s. When were you? Who
No,
knows?
my brother was very much like you.
Oh,
right?
he was into the games. You're right. You
He
told me that.
had
You told me that.
whatever technology came out that day. He had that technology.
Yeah, I hear you.
So he had whatever everything. It didn't matter what it was. But his first game console was Atari.
That's a game console. Right?
Yeah,
That's
it was a game
that's a
console.
home game
yeah,
console.
Yeah.
He had Atari. I don't know if there was something prior to that. There might have been. I'm not really
I
sure.
could go Vision. I was out before that.
Yeah, Pong
Odyssey.
was the first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, it was just.
Right.
Oh
The first
right,
one.
actually he did have that. That's the
That
one
was
with
the
the
first.
switches on
Yes,
the
literally,
thing.
literally. Yes.
And you just went boop 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 boop.
Yep, it was Pong.
Boop, boop, boop. But then Atari
That's
came
like
out.
when you're processing text messages. That's the same exact
That's
sound
what it
effect.
is.
Yeah, exactly.
Believe me, that doesn't even happen when I'm
Yeah,
trying to
inside
process
your
text
brain, yeah.
messages.
Yeah, it's like that little orange blinking
Beep, boop,
light
bop,
when your
beep.
computer is thinking of something. For my dad, it's like an hour and a half straight.
Yeah, it doesn't. And
Oh,
it
he's
usually-
really-
I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah.
It's been so long since you've even seen a computer have to calculate. It's instant.
Yeah,
now. It's
right?
like-
yeah,
It
yeah.
is.
That's crazy.
I'm like Alexa when it comes to trying to understand text messages.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
a
so
great analogy.
my brother when I was young, my brother's first system was that Pong, and then he had the Atari. Actually, had the Pong as part of it, and it had a couple other things. It had these little football. I used to love playing. It was like two football players on the screen. It was just a digital. There was nothing compared to today.
Yeah.
And then when I had my first system, I think my first system was a Sega,
Okay.
and then a Sega
Cool, man.
Genesis, and I had the
Ryan, can you
and
pull
I-
up when did Sega Genesis come out?
Yeah.
Just
Gotta be like
curious.
Sega Genesis, probably early 90s.
yeah.
Yeah.
92.
Yeah, it was. It was probably early '90s. I had it when I was
They were a
when I
big
was first married
competitor
in,
of Nintendo.
in this house.
1989.
That's
Yeah, and I was married in
That's the Sega Master System or Genesis?
That was the Genesis.
Oh,
Came out in
Genesis.
89.
So,
Okay.
cool.
and I was
Yeah,
married in
no.
'88. I was married in '85, and we moved into the house in '87, and I bought that in '88.
Yeah.
So I had that. That was my first game console.
That's pretty
And-
cool. It's a solid game console, man. It's
Yeah,
like- it's the
and I had a
OG.
lot of fun. I
That's
had
the OG,
I
man.
had the pistol, the ray gun thing with
Yeah.
and with, I had a lot of fun with it. And I don't even remember what I had after that, because then I think the next systems I got when you guys got
Hey
older.
Brian, can you do me another favor? Can
Yes.
you Google how much would it be to buy a Sega Genesis right now?
I have one at home.
I'm just curious. You have one at home,
Yeah,
Rob?
they just released a mini, which I got. I hear it's like really tremendous, just like Nintendo did the Classic and the SNES Classic. Yeah, I bought one I like retro gaming. I bought
Yeah.
one for $15. It
Really?
needed to be cleaned up, and I repaired a little bit, but yeah, it works good.
No shit.
I think my
That's
next one
awesome.
might have been a Nintendo system. That was
Yeah.
the one where
GameCube
when
I
you
bought.
plugged it. You had these little when you plugged it into
That was the
system.
NES, right? Or no?
I think I had the
That was
the,
my first
the
real
NES.
system,
Yes.
but I had
Yeah.
ones before that.
That was like
Yeah.
probably like the first like real, legit, like I don't even know what I'm saying right now.
Yeah, and then I
That
don't
was the first real legit.
like console
NES.
system where
That
you
was the
had
first
multiple
real legit
di-
NES.
NES because
an
it was the
Nintendo
only.
entertainment system.
Yeah, yeah.
Sega
And then-
Genesis costs $20 to $80.
Right now,
wow,
yeah.
still $80
I
for
think
certain
so.
ones? That's pretty
$80,
crazy.
yeah.
Well, I mean, the
Damn.
retro systems is like a huge thing. Like
know
I know you're in.
N64
I
Yeah.
really still like retro
Yeah.
gaming, so
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
actually to get a lot of those games, you can get emulators pretty simple. But if you
Yeah.
people are so it's like a fanaticism. Like if you're
Oh,
not
yeah.
into it, you don't really get it. But people want the original OEM crap,
Sure.
Yeah.
original controllers. And it's funny, like some of the systems are a bit of money. Like TurboGrafx is hard to get now; they're a little expensive. But like you might find a Genesis for $50, but your game might be like 110.
What?
If
Yeah.
it's like a rare game or something?
Like,
Oh, yeah.
like Sonic the Hedgehog or something.
no,
Is that,
I
is that
games
that?
everywhere, but
Oh,
like
okay,
something
well,
that was like
I don't know shit about Sega Genesis.
things that weren't bundled into or like just became
Mm-hmm.
cults. Like for GameCube, Double Dash kart racing is now kind
yes.
of expensive.
It is
Right,
actually.
right.
Yes,
Luigi's
no,
Mansion's
yeah.
expensive.
Well, GameCube's fairly expensive too, if I'm not mistaken.
You can
Brian,
get
I don't
them
know if
not
you can
too
pull up
bad.
GameCube
Yeah, I
price.
bought one of those recently
Brian
too.
going crazy right now.
Like,
I
you
But
know
know
it's
what?
all
Wake up
second,
for
whatever
Lost.
the second market will bear.
Yeah.
You know, because people
Right.
are resale, obviously.
The
Yeah.
first
I'm
gener-
sorry, I know how to
first
take it.
generation,
it's
the
all
first
good.
generation iPod is right now. If you want to get one of those, they're really expensive.
Yeah?
If you have one,
Really?
they're really expensive.
Oh, really? Like the shuffle
400
ones,
bucks.
or-
No, the original,
Like the
first
fatter,
iPod.
the fat
yeah,
long
the
one
jog
with the
dial, yeah, the white one.
They're like
Yes.
300 or 400
Oh my
bucks.
God, that's right. You had to scroll your
Yeah.
thumb across.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
And I used to love the noise
Holy
it made.
shit.
Click, 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 click.
Yes.
I was
Yeah.
listening. Click, click, click.
That's
I have
right,
150 songs right here.
Yeah.
Now you're streaming like a
Yeah, well, I
100
think
right there.
I think after the
150
Sega
songs.
and
You're
whatever,
like-
I maybe
Like, bro, I got Apple. I have every song. I have
Yeah.
Apple Music. I have every song
Right.
in the world.
So-
I
I got
may have
that.
had the after the NES, I think I went to a computer, and I had a computer, and I had
Did you
oh
have one of
god,
those Commodore 64s?
no,
We
I
had one
was
of
no, that
those.
was
Summer Games.
It was like that, but it had like it was amazing computer at the time. It had like a 50 kilobyte hard drive on a 250 kilobyte hard drive. It had and it had the dial up. And then there was American
We don't
AOL.
need a
There was
soundboard with this
AOL,
character.
Definitely not.
but there was
murder.
there was only 2 internet browser
Like companies?
platforms. One of them was America
There was
Online,
one.
AOL,
Online,
and then
yeah.
there was another one. I wish I
Yeah.
could remember it, and I actually liked that one way better. It was almost like the beta.
It was like a. Do you remember? I don't know if this was the operating system, but I remember they used to package it. Was it Netscape? Do you remember
No,
Netscape?
that came out way later.
What was that, Brian? Look at Netscape. I just read it.
But it
popped
was
in my head. I
AOL,
don't know why.
Real quick though to interrupt.
Yeah.
So Nintendo GameCubes, it's like as low as $35, but if
Uh-huh.
you get it like brand new, never opened, it could go all the way up to
sure.
260.
That's
Wow.
crazy, man.
You said Netscape?
Yeah. I
That's
remember like
nuts,
4.0, 4.2.
Yeah, no, they came out later on.
Yeah.
It's a web browser.
Well, we're
Yeah.
just doing one console, right?
And
Just like
when
the
was
first,
that? It was
Just
first
one
console.
console.
It's a
So my
subsidiary
first one was
of
Sega Genesis.
Okay,
so what
so
was your
it's
first?
so
First
my first
gaming console?
My dad was never enthusiastic about game. Like he never like that argument that Joey put up before when we were talking about smoke signals. My dad's probably at home just like, woo! They know how I'm feeling. He was like, he used to always, and I don't know if he did it just like because he was so like irritated by the whole thing. Like he just never, he would not give it. We begged every Christmas, please. So Nintendo Entertainment System came. I remember the first time I'm walking in a 5 and Dime at Woolworth. Remember them?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we're walking. I just grew up in the Bronx, so we're walking in. Well, where everybody's there. It's packaged around Christmas time, and that's when the big releases are.
Yeah.
And I saw one that had the power pad and the laser gun, and it came with the duck hunt. I just remember being
Duck
like
Hunt.
stars in my. I was like, oh, I'd seen one at a friend's house. The one kid in the area who has money, grandma buys him everything.
Yeah.
Like I want one so bad. I want one so bad. And he kept like leading us on and thinking like we might get one this year. I don't know why. He just psyched our heads up about it. He was like. And for us, all right, it's not like he came home and like, I can't wait to buy you this. For when I say psych it up, everybody would be like, he mentioned it one time.
Yeah.
But that's like amazing for my
But
dad.
that's like
he
for
probably
your dad,
one-handed awfully. I might have said something like, oh my God, isn't that great? And he was probably like, yeah, Rob looks great. And just kept walking. I was like, he's getting it for
He's
me.
gonna
He's
get
getting.
it.
He's gonna get
done.
it. He's
It's
gonna get it.
done
He looked.
deal.
He
It's
looked in the
guaranteed.
direction of the game shelves from across the other side of the store. He's definitely
Yeah.
getting that game for me.
Absolutely, 100%.
That's so funny.
He's obviously side-eyeing that thing. He doesn't want to give it up on me.
That's hilarious.
Because that's how deep he would go in. Now, to this day, and I don't mean no disrespect, but he doesn't buy us anything. My stepmom buys us all, or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
And he's never bought a card in his life. Whatever you open, I'll be like, thanks, Dad. He's like, you got it. He doesn't,
Yeah. Of
he's
course,
so
yeah.
uninvolved. So, anyways,
I wish I could be like that.
seriously, where you can't do that now. It's
Yeah.
like basically child abuse.
Yeah,
I did that
right,
on Christmas
right.
Day. My wife just smacked the crap
Yeah,
out of me.
yeah.
Literally.
Anyways, so we get a box. I remember it's me and my sister Jennifer, and my older sister I think was there, but she was just like she was a little older, and she's like 9 years older, so she was like already whatever. I don't care about Christmas.
Yeah, right.
We're like, oh my God, we get all excited. There was a box, like looked like, oh my God, could be an NES. Like of course we start. It's like has a nice little heft to it, and I remember him saying something like, oh that's like a group gift, and we'd have like one group gift, and I was like. Oh, me and my sister were like, yeah, we're gonna. We're all hyping each other up. Like tears of joy are coming out of my eyes. I'm like trying to hold them back. I'm like, and we open all these other gifts. I'm pretending like I don't even know what the hell they were anymore. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I just want to. He's like, all right, guys, open it up. And I'm like freaking shredding it. My sister's I'm like punching her in the arm. I'm just trying to open that thing so bad. I'm like
Turns into a mosh pit.
savage.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Seriously. And he looked like happy and like. Everybody in those days were like, everybody's father was a curmudgeon. Everyone's father was like, everybody who grew up in the area I grew up in, the little Italian Irish areas, was like, whatever, gotta go to work, don't care. That was like kind of
Right.
like what they were all working a million hours.
Yeah.
And we opened it up, and it was a game system.
Yeah.
It was the fucking ColecoVision.
Oh my
my
I was
God.
like, what is this? What is this?
Could've
Even
played
after I
one
realized
game
it
on-
wasn't
God.
NES, I was like, still like, well, I don't know what the hell this is. He must have got like a job lot. It was already like, they stopped producing this already. Even Atari was newer, like the Atari 2600, 5200, whatever.
Right, right.
They were newer. You had to get an Atari adapter if you wanted to play those 7-year-old games
Wow.
on this 10-year-old shit.
Wow.
I don't even know it was 10-year-old. We didn't know what it was. We had Donkey Kong for it, and it had little controllers that you could look up a picture. I don't know if you can insert that for people.
Yeah, I got
But it
it.
had this weird, like, kind of paddle shifter with these 2 buttons on the side and, like, a telephone key thing, like zeros, 1, 2,
What
3,
the
4,
hell?
Oh,
Is that
wow.
was ColecoVision?
and like, I don't know what this had to work with. We had Donkey Kong, and And then finally, he was like, don't worry, we're going to get you the Atari adapter. I don't even know how he knew there was an Atari adapter. We went to Job Lots and Odd Lots and all these looking for this Atari adapter. I got one of those Atari adapters at a garage sale in about 1999 when I was a grown-ass adult.
Wow.
Years later.
And he was like, that's you guys like it, right? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like half crying. I don't know what the hell it was.
Crying
I was so
because you were so sad that you
disappointed.
didn't get
know
it.
what the hell happened.
Oh my god.
That's
and he was
pretty
like,
crazy.
We only had Donkey Kong, and I remember like one other game. No, Toys R Us wouldn't have these games. You had to like clear off the good crap, and he'd be like, hold on, I think there's some dusty
And there
piece
was
of
no
garbage
China
right
back
here.
then.
Let me go to the dumpster real
Right,
quick.
the
I'll be
guy's
right
like,
back.
I think we threw out all these.
Yeah.
Nobody would have these, right? I'm like, that's what my papa has bought us.
Probably, I bet you that'd be worth a lot of money nowadays if you still
I
had
still
some
have
of
it.
Oh, you,
Yeah,
really?
I still have it. Yeah,
Wow.
the Atari adapter.
Good for you, man.
So, any case, we would eventually get a Nintendo like another
Yeah.
year later, but still, it was
Yeah.
pretty awesome. And I think at that point he was with someone else, and she was like even talking, just get him the damn thing. And it was a group gift. We got that, and I remember
Yeah.
playing baseball, Mario 1, and Duck Hunt, and even that stupid track thing, which we were. This goes back to what we were saying about how we're lazy. It didn't take us 10 minutes to realize we could just put our hands like this instead of running on that trackpad. We just put our hands. We get on here, so for track and field events. I'm like, what the hell with this? This is exhausting, man.
Yeah, right. Just do it with
But,
your hands. Yeah.
And he would just be like, are you playing that goddamn Nintendo? He still calls it Nintendo. He thinks
Yeah.
there's only one console, and it's all Nintendo.
all
That's what
Nintendo.
it's all.
Nintendo.
No, you got a new Nintendo. Like, if he came over for a party at my house and be
Yeah.
like, oh, George, you got a
he
Nintendo?
he must be like right in between because I was always into those games. I grew
Yeah.
up. My brother was into those things.
He
He must have been slightly
not-
older than us, where it was just those things weren't there, and when they
It
came, it was
wasn't
like
a
no
thing.
interest at all.
Yeah.
Just
Parents
but
didn't have money for that. He
I
was
was
one of like
like
7 kids. You know
yeah,
what I
I
mean?
was totally into the technology when it came
Yeah, I
out.
loved
You know, and I wasn't like my brother or you when I had to have it as soon as it came
Yeah.
out. But I always was. I knew about it, and I wanted
I think
to.
I was
know-
like that
and
because I
played
never
it.
had them when I
Yeah,
was little.
right.
So when I got older and I could afford these things that were indulgences when you were young,
Yeah.
we would save up like a birthday gift for we had money all the time, and like we would go and argue for like 2 hours over what Toys R Us game we were going to get. It was Toys R Us was the big deal then. I can't believe that's gone. I was so sad when that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's like my childhood. And we wouldn't go to Toys R Us a lot. We'd go to like supermarket. We didn't have money for that kind of crap.
Right.
So if we like put our birthday money or Christmas money, we became like, I don't want to have zero. I want base words, and we would like literally just argue over that crap because we usually wouldn't get enough individually. We'd have to group the money to buy some, and then everybody would argue. Whoever finally got the choice, like, this is ass, you're a dick, and we'd end up fighting. And my dad would come and rip that shit out of the wall. He'd be like,
Yeah.
get that goddamn Nintendo.
He didn't put up with it. Yeah.
He threw that crap so many times. I tell you though, that was a well-built machine. I can't tell you how
Yeah.
many goddamn times that thing flew across my thing, and all that happened was the little hinge broke off, and we blow on
Not
games
anymore.
after a while. But that was it.
Not anymore.
That thing worked forever. Yeah, now it's like you blow on it. That
now
thing
it's
snaps.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. I don't.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I went on for a long
I
time.
don't really
Joey,
need to
all
ask,
good?
but I know I probably know already what your first game system was.
Well, I'm actually not going to do that. So I don't mean to completely throw a wrench
No,
in
that's
it, but
fine.
I'm going to skip over a little bit because there was when you mentioned you wanted to talk about this topic the other day, and I said actually.
and
kinda
I
fits
disappointed.
perfectly
I kind of
because,
throw a wrench into in the beginning. We were going to talk about our first game. I know you want to talk.
No,
about the
not
game.
at all. No, not
Your
at all.
first game was a wrench, right?
Yeah,
Your
it
first
was.
game was a wrench.
It was a
You
rock.
played with a wrench.
Right.
It was a rock in the
Right.
shape of a wrench.
Those are your only friend for a long time.
We didn't know it was a wrench.
Well, your first game was to sharpen a rock down to a wrench.
down to
Right.
That-
with a
that-
wrench,
Whittle it.
but we had to make the wrench first. So it was like
And you've
it was
killed
like the
joke.
wrench.
And the joke
It was kind of
is
like the
dead.
wrench before the
Dad
rock.
took that joke outside and shot it in the back of the head.
What came first?
He took that outside the tool shed and shot it.
Oh my God. Old Yeller just woke up. He's like, shoot me again.
I wish I might have
so,
to. I might have to build one of those wrenches so I can fix the plumbing after we're done with the
my
podcast.
God, I'd like to
anyway.
hit you in the head with that imaginary
Yeah,
wrench.
as
Can we
soon as-
move on?
let me know when it's built.
Okay.
No, what I was trying to say was that last week I was mentioning about Gears of War. Gears
Oh,
of War
yeah.
5 came out and all that. And for me, the reason why I've been talking about it a lot, and it's probably everyone's thinking, oh, why you keep mentioning this game? And obviously it's new and it's exciting and it's a really fun game. For me, Gears of War brings back a lot of great memories. For me, that kind of started video games to a lot of people is just something you do for fun. But for me, it really has been like a major hobby of mine. I know it sounds kind of funny to say that, but I've always loved it. Yeah, I think it's becoming more and more like a
an
very
accepted
popular thing.
Media. It's
But-
a media now, right? I would say
Exactly.
like more like a movie or
Yeah.
like books or it's
Yeah.
a media.
Exactly,
Yeah.
it really is. And
Yeah.
I know Gears of War started it for me, and the whole thing for me started with you talking about consoles and all that. So obviously it wasn't my first console, but my first, what I would call like my first like real like console that I got to play like with online gaming and stuff like that. I remember when I turned 16, I had a 16th birthday party, and I had all my friends come over, and all of my friends had all just gotten Xbox 360s, and I didn't have one yet. My friend, I remember being all upset about it. My friends all chipped in and pooled their money, and they all give me money, like $20 each, and I had like a couple friends over, like 15 friends over, and I was just enough money to that day go out and buy the original Xbox 360. I bought that, and the first game I ever had for the Xbox 360 was the first ever Gears of War. It had like just come out, and I just remember like that was the first game I ever played online. That was the first game I ever played with like people, and got to experience that world of online gaming, and like that changed a lot of my life. I know it sounds kind of funny, but you know that really opened it up, and now I like, you know, I've played a lot of other online games, and I've met a lot of great friends. I have a bunch of friends that I've met through playing the game Destiny that I met. They're all down in Staten Island. Shout out to GFM. Greetings from Mercury. And you know, it's just it sort of opened up this whole world for me, and I think that was something that was just so much fun for me, and that was the original Xbox 360 that came with the red ring of death. You know, every now and then that
I had fixed that a couple of times.
You did.
For you guys.
Rob was big in that.
Yeah.
He used to fix the red ring of death and then sell them.
Yeah, they were a
it's
pain
that
in the ass.
silver paste I used to put
Yeah.
out
Yeah,
and
yeah.
reheat sink.
Yep.
Yeah,
I sold them like crazy. I just pick them up at a dozen. Bum, 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 bum,
it's so
and then
funny,
hack 'em.
man. But yeah, man. So that was pretty much that. That was like my favorite
That's
memory.
cool,
That's
man.
why I kept. So for me, Gears of War 5 coming out, it's crazy. This dude, that's like that was when I was 16. So that was 12 years ago. And Gears of War 5 just came out on Friday. So that's 12 years removed. I'm still playing the same game that I first started playing. You know, it brought back so many great memories, and I wanted to just talk about it in the podcast. And yeah,
All
that's
right.
pretty
Cool,
much
man.
it, man. But
All right. So I have decided.
This is still happening?
Yes.
still a thing.
Oh,
The
sorry.
podcast has now ended.
Okay.
Don't forget to check us out on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and the notification so you don't miss any of these wonderful episodes. You can check us out on looselyrelated.podcast.com or Spotify, maybe iHeartRadio someday soon. We're trying to get us on there. Facebook, you can check us out, or just shoot us another email. No, we don't want to say shoot, so just send us an email if you have any questions, you want any add anything to the show, you want us, if you like the particular thing, at looserelatedpodcast@gmail.com. And please tell all your friends. Come back. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
See you next week, everybody.
See you next week.
Don't be a Dumont.